Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Sasuke and the council wants Naruto's weapons part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Konoha Street, nighttime. That's right, you demon. A drunk man shouts at a little blonde boy cradling into himself on the cold ground. This is what you get, monster. The man kicked the boy in the stomach, hard, causing him to dry heave. The other people around the man joined in and started to kick at the boy. They shouted many dirty things to him like demon, monster, and other various derogatory things. All the blonde-haired boy could do was pray that they would eventually stop before he would have to limp to the hospital again. The boy hated the hospital. Not because of the food or terribly uncomfortable beds they have, but because of the way they treated him. They wouldn't treat him like normal kids at all. When a normal kid went to the hospital, the doctors and nurses would treat him or her with care, yet when the blonde boy went there, they would only treat him halfway before tossing him out. Usually at night so that the villagers could continue to do what they're doing now. After several long and painstaking minutes, the mob saw that the boy had stopped moving and was barely breathing as well. Satisfied, they all dispersed right before any Umbu or the Hokage could show up. After they left, the blonde boy slowly opened his one good eye as his left one was swollen shut. He slowly raised himself on his surprisingly unbroken arms and crawled away to a nearby alleyway to rest up. As he leaned onto the wall and took slow, shallow breaths, he looked up to the night sky and started to sob. Ever since he could remember so far, this has been his life. Chased around by the angry villagers, usually cornered and then beaten half to death. The glares and hateful remarks were always present as well. Usually demon was the main thing said to him. He didn't know why. The boy placed his head into his hands and continued to sob, not even noticing that he was being watched by an old man from afar. "Oh Naruto," the old man says to himself as he watches the boy through a crystal ball. His wrinkled face is showing only one emotion: despair. He knew that he couldn't do next to anything to help the boy now named Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki had been one of the most hated individuals in all of Konoha. All because of something far out of the boy's control. The fourth wanted the villagers to see this boy as a hero to all, yet their anger and hatred outweighed their logic and reasoning. The boy was always constantly hated and hurt on a near daily basis. It is very worrisome when a child of only 4 years old tells you that he has grown somewhat accustomed to the pain. The old man watched Naruto for a few more minutes before seeing that the boy had fallen asleep in that alleyway. Once Naruto had fallen asleep, the old man cut the connection and let out a tired and frustrated sigh. He went back to his paperwork, not aware that the next few days would prove rather arduous for the blonde-haired boy. The next day, as the sun descended upon the village, the alleyway was filled with its ever-present light. It shined onto Naruto, who was leaning on a dumpster, and woke him up from his uncomfortable sleep. He stretched a bit and popped several of his stiff bones before noticing two things. 1. A broken mirror in front of him showed that most of his injuries had healed almost fully, and 2. His clothes were ripped up. His clothes consisted of a blue shirt along with bright orange shorts. He didn't even have any shoes on, so his feet were worse for wear. Naruto let out a sigh before putting on a brave face and leaving the alley. He walked down the street, ignoring all of the hateful remarks and threats as best as he could. It was never easy for him though, those remarks. It was always hard to ignore them, especially the ones that threw things at him for no reason. As he passed a few of the stores and restaurants, Naruto quickly ran past them as to not get his hopes up of today being different than the last times. Usually when he passed these types of areas, his stomach would growl uncontrollably since he was malnourished half the time. The other time he's just eating ramen. True, he loved the stuff and all, but he would never have anything else aside from it. He was only 4 and had been living on his own ever since the orphanage kicked him out 2 years ago. Naruto hurriedly made his way back to his rundown and shabby apartment a few minutes later. Home sweet home if you were a rat, that is. The apartment building was more on the torn-apart side than most buildings. The walls were torn up, there was entire patches missing from the roof, the flooring was not sturdy, the stairs looked like they were put back together multiple times with tape, because they were, and the landlord, an old and short man, made no indication of fixing up the place. That was just outside. Inside of Naruto's room was worse. Trash from the villagers screwed about the place. Rats roaming around looking for what little scraps they could find, broken glass in a pile from adults and other kids throwing stuff through them, rotted out walls and flooring, and a large hole in the ceiling that the landlord left there. Top that off with no insulation or hot water and you have a horrible living condition for a child. Naruto sighed as he opened his ajar door from the last time a few villagers broke in. He went inside and looked around for the spare set of less torn clothes in his closet before pulling out something. A red shirt with a few kunai holes in the places where his heart and stomach are supposed to be, and a dark blue pair of shorts with a slight tear on the right thigh leg. After he dressed himself, Naruto decided to sit down on a part of the floor that wouldn't creak and give way to his light weight. When he sat down, he soon laid down and looked up to the cracked ceiling close to where the hole was. I really hope Gigi can help me fix the roof this time, Naruto said to himself in a hoarse voice. He gave a few quick coughs to get his voice back to its original state, but that was in vain. With another sigh, Naruto stood up and decided to head out for a walk to the only place in town that was nice to him. Ichiraku Ramen. It took Naruto a little bit of time, what with having to avoid everyone that ran into him. Once he got there though, he immediately perked up and that big goofy smile spread along his face. Hey old man, Naruto said enthusiastically as he sat down on the stool in front of the stand. Said old man looked over and smiled at his favorite customer. Hey there Naruto. What do you have this time? Naruto smiled warmly to the man as he made out his order. 5 bowls of miso ramen, and 5 bowls of pork ramen please. The old man chuckled under his breath before his daughter came out and greeted the blonde. The girl had short brown hair and a generous smile when she saw Naruto. Hey there Naruto-kun, she said to him. It's good to see you again. How are you? Naruto knew that she was only asking to make sure he was alright. She kind of became like an unofficial older sister to him ever since the orphanage incident. Naruto didn't want to worry her, so he just gave the same answer as always. I've been doing fine Ayam-chan. Ayam simply smiled and continued with his order, completely aware of his lie. After an hour or so of eating and talking to the Ichirakus, Naruto left to go and see the Hokage like usual. He had been doing this for some time now, going to Ichirakus to eat, hanging out there to talk for a bit, then heading to see his surrogate grandfather. It was always a hassle to get in to see him, what with the receptionist always shooing him away and the station Nambu who hated him throwing him out without the Hokage's knowledge. Naruto would usually wait for him out in the lobby or outside the building until he came down for a short break. Even if Naruto was having the worst of times, which were a lot of times, whenever he would see the old man it would always brighten up his day. Today was no different. Ah, Naruto-kun, the old Hokage said to him as soon as he saw the boy. Naruto gave a big toothed smile and ran over to him, hugging him in the process. Hey Gigi. The Hokage hugged him back and the two went for a walk outside. As they walked, they talked about a few things, the hole in the ceiling of Naruto's apartment being the main thing though. As they walked on, Naruto could feel that something was off about Gigi. He couldn't place his finger on it, but something was just off. The Hokage was usually a busy man, that, Naruto understood, and he usually looked tired during or after a day's work. But now, he just seemed to be thinking about something. Something deeply important. Gigi? Naruto started only to receive silence. Naruto became a little discouraged at this and decided not to press the issue. The man is an important figure to all of Konoha, so he might be thinking of something for the village and its people. That was when Naruto sighed again at the thought of the people of the village. Along with both sides of the council, these villagers have been making his short life an absolute hell. The beatings were bad enough, but that was just the civilian side. The shinobi side would be a little more creative with the way they tormented him. Naruto remembered one time when the clan head for the Inuzuka clan sent their dogs out on him for fun. Or the time he said hi to a shy Hyuga girl and beaten by other members when they poked him. Somehow he was put into shock and cardiac arrest from that. The Aburame clan was surprisingly lax on what they did to him. Usually they were rather stoic, but a certain few would send their bugs on him just to make an example. Naruto still has bad dreams about those bugs. The two continued to walk until the Hokage was called back to his office rather urgently by an Umbu Naruto recognized. The dog-masked Umbu with the gravity-defying gray hair was one of the few Umbu that at least didn't pay much attention to Naruto to want to hurt him. The Hokage nodded to Dog and he left via a swirl of leaves. The old man turned to Naruto and gave a slight smirk. Naruto, I have to get back to work now. You head on home, okay? Before Naruto could even say okay Gigi, the old man was gone in the same way as Dog. Naruto sighed as he looked down to his still uncovered feet. He walked away and just wandered along the village with no real goal in sight. Should he head home? Why? The place was horrible. Should he head to a playground? No point. The parents and most likely older kids would just chase him off. He could try going back to Ichiraku's, but by this time in afternoon they would be a bit too busy. Those were the only places that Naruto had ever known nowadays. Sighing out of despair now, Naruto simply kept on walking until nighttime hit. He didn't even notice until it was too late. Nighttime was the worst time of day for Naruto to be outside. People got drunk people wanted to have some fun, and there would be a fox hunt. Naruto had no idea why they did this or why they called it a fox hunt. Maybe it was because of his whiskers or something. Anyway, Naruto started to walk a little bit faster as not to get caught and beaten up once again. He could already hear the murmurs of the villagers as they started to follow him. This time though, the fear and anxiety of the situation got the better of Naruto, and he took off in a dead sprint. The civilians saw this and made a mad dash to try and keep up with the surprisingly fast demon boy. Naruto ran as fast as he could and ran past a few kids his own age on the way. He passed this black-haired boy with deep onyx eyes that was walking with his parents, an older brother. A girl with pink hair that shouted at him the moment he bumped into her mom. Her mother joined in the shouting and encouraged the growing mob to chase the boy with haste. He passed a blonde-haired girl with light blue eyes that looked at him with a slight interest. Though her father, a shinobi councilman, wasn't all too amused by the boy nearly knocking his daughter over. A quick apology wouldn't cut it in the man's eyes. Next was that shy Hyuga girl. He passed her as she was being escorted by 2 men from her clan. No doubt that if he bumped into her, the mob would be the least of his problems. Next was a boy, dark hair tied in a pineapple shape. The boy paid Naruto no attention and couldn't catch many details of him before the mob ran past him. Troublesome. The last person Naruto ran past was one of the Inuzuka boys that let their dogs chase after him. The boy laughed as the mob chased after him and wanted to send his dogs after the boy as well. Naruto just continued to run. To where, he didn't know nor did he care. As long as he got away from them, from this village and its abusive shinobi, he didn't care where he ran to. As the gates came up, Naruto realized something. He was now running through a forest. He just kept running without any rest despite his muscles screaming and begging him to stop. He didn't listen to those thoughts and just kept on running, eventually tripping on a protruding tree branch. He fell face first on the hard ground and slipped into a blackened unconsciousness. For a while there, Naruto found himself at peace. Floating in some kind of comforting embrace, a first for the blonde 4-year-old. He felt warmth for the first time as he was caressed by something soft and protective of him. He snuggled up to the softness and curled into it, smiling to himself that he was finally able to feel this warmth for the first time. Unbeknown to Naruto, it wasn't the embrace of a person. No. Not a person but a fox. A large fox that gave a feral smile to the sleeping form laying on one of its tails. Finally. It started in a deep and menacing voice. Now, to begin the bonding. A few hours later, the sunlight started to shine through the trees and onto a sleeping blonde's faces. Naruto felt the light and rolled a bit to get it out of his face. That didn't work so well as the light just started to flicker in various ways on his face. After a few seconds, Naruto reached for his sheet to cover himself up from the light only to find that there was something furry in his lap. He slowly opened his eyes and saw that he was outside beforehand. Oh yeah? He started in a groggy tone before placing his hand on his forehead. I ran away from them all and fell. Must have fallen asleep. That was when he noticed what was lying on his lap and sat up. Sitting there was a small, light orange baby fox with black paws and orange eyes. The fox looked at him as did he and went up to his face. That was when it licked him a few times. Naruto was confused at first, but then started to chuckle at the little guy's tickling tongue. Hey. Naruto started as he rubbed the fox's head to convey his satisfaction. Stop it. You're tickling me? Almost immediately the fox stopped its ticklish assault and simply sat on Naruto's lap. Naruto continued to pet it for a bit before noticing that he was very far away from the village. Oh man. He started as he looked off in the direction that the village might have been in. I must have ran too far. I don't recognize anything around here. He looked around only to hear what sounded like a clashing of metal not too far off in the distance. He looked to it then back to the small fox and smiled. Would you like to come with me, little guy? He asked and received a yip in response as the fox hopped on his shoulder. All right. Naruto started as he stood up. Let's go. Naruto, feeling strangely refreshed and energized for the first time in months, ran off to where the sounds of change in his life lie. Konoha, an hour later. To say that Hiruzen Sarutobi was angry was a colossal understatement. He was beyond furious, he was livid. After word got out that the demon boy of Konoha had been chased out of the village by a fairly large mob, Hiruzen had sent out Umbu to retrieve the boy along with sending said mob to the T&I department. There, Ibiki and Anko had their work cut out for them, not really. Hiruzen took a puff of his pipe and assessed the situation to himself once again. Naruto was with him for around 14 or so minutes. Naruto was asking him about something, but being the stubborn old man he was, he ignored them. Dog showed up and sent an urgent message before leaving via Shunshin. Hiruzen told Naruto to head home, and then, after his important meeting, an Umbu reports that Naruto was chased out of the village. Hiruzen sighed and took another puff of his pipe before giving a silent prayer that Naruto was alright. Contrary to popular belief, Hiruzen did see Naruto as a grandson and wanted to protect him at all costs. Unfortunately for him, the council members, both civilian and surprisingly enough shinobi, wanted little to do with the boy and made it to where Hiruzen's help was severely limited. Hell, getting him that rad-tag apartment was a major hassle in and of itself, and look how that turned out. What made it even worse was when families would try and adopt the boy, but Hiruzen knew better. They may have put on kind faces, but the malice and hate was there, plain as daylight. Naruto. Hiruzen started as he looked out to the village of kind people. Please be safe. At that time, the Hokage's little respite was interrupted when dog Shunshin inside and was in a kneeling pose in front of the desk. Hiruzen immediately perked up and expected a clean report that Naruto was found. That wasn't the case, unfortunately. Hokage-sama, I'm sorry to report, but we have found no traces of the boy anywhere, Dog said in a melancholy tone. What? The old man said as he stood up quickly. That it surprised Dog for a moment. What do you mean there's no traces of him? Explain. Now. Dog took a breath and answered the irate Hokage. We followed his trail from where he somehow escaped through the gates. We followed the trail for over 3 miles, but then something happened to the trail. Something I can't even explain properly, Hokage-sama. What? Hiruzen asked with a raised eyebrow. The trail just stopped. Dog continued. We searched the area before I summoned Pakken and my other Niken to search the area. But this is where the strange part happens. They all just said to me that the scent was telling them not to follow. That there would be trouble for them and that their contract to me would become broken. I don't know what this boy has done, but it made all my Niken terrified. Hiruzen had a slight tremble at a certain possibility, but decided against that idea and looked back to Dog. That doesn't explain how you lost his trail. That's the thing, Hokage-sama. Dog continued. The trail simply just vanished. I still don't believe it myself. Hiruzen went a little wide-eyed but kept his composure as best he could. If he was somehow right, then that means that thing must have something to do with this. How though? Naruto was always upfront about everything that had ever happened to him. When he found that he could use chakra, he told Hiruzen. When he did his first prank, he told Hiruzen. When his ability to heal quicker than most people developed, he told Hiruzen. So why didn't Naruto say anything about this? Hokage-sama? Dog said to get the still stunned Hokage's attention. Huh? What would like us to do? Hokage-sama? Dog asked. Hiruzen sighed before answering him again. Continue searching for him, but I'm sending in Weasel with you. His tracking skills will also prove most useful. Find the boy Dog, the fate of Konoha depends on it. Dog nodded and then vanished via Shunshin. Hiruzen sat back down as he prepared for what could only be the worst-case scenario for Konoha. Naruto, along with his new companion on his shoulder still, finally made it to the sound of clashing swords. Surprisingly enough, they were farther than he initially thought. The sounds of clashing metal sounded way louder than before. Before it sounded like he was near them, but now it sounds like his is in the middle of the fight. Oh man, Naruto said as he rubbed his ears a bit. Why is everything so loud? He didn't have a chance to answer as he saw that the ones battling each other had an audience around them. He walked over and could see the uproar of other men and women all around. They were cheering for 2 people, most likely the ones fighting, and it was all down the middle. Half for one and the other half for the other one. Naruto pushed his way into and past the crowd to see what was going on. That was when he saw 2 people fighting each other with swords and clashing repeatedly. He also noticed that he was in some kind of village, but it was mainly just tents set up all over the place. Some more extravagant than others. Back to the 2 though. One was a man with dark blue hair that was tied up in the back. He wore a dark blue pair of ninja pants that had a belt buckle holding a blue sheath on his left side. He had no shirt on and his muscular tone would put any man to shame along with his sun-kissed skin. He had a standard katana in his right hand. The blade had a clean edge to it, and the handle and pommel were both a deep onyx color. His face had a rough look to it. His eyes were a clear green color that contrasted with his hair. Those eyes held an amusement to the battle, yet it also held determination as well. Naruto noticed that he didn't have a ninja headband like most people who fought back in Konoha. Naruto also noticed that half the crowd was chanting his name loudly. Let's go Akiba Raidon. Naruto then saw the other person that Jean was fighting. The other was a woman with long, sun-kissed orange hair that was tied into a bun to keep out of her face. She wore tight light brown pants that hugged her curves without being too constricting or impeding movement. She had on a small yet tight white shirt that also hugged and covered her rather impressive breast. There was some kind of red rope tied around her hair that went over her right shoulder and led to an orange sheath on her back. She held a sword similar to Akiba's, but her handle and pommel was a mixture of both white and black. Her face also held an amused determination as her hazel eyes locked onto Akiba's. The other half of the crowd was shouting her name out after Akiba's name was shouted out. Let's go Saya! The 2 in the center of it all, now named Akiba and Saya, rushed over to one another and clashed again and again. They were using different variations of kenjutsu that helped in both offense as well as defense, yet Akiba's relied more on speed than Saya's. Hers relied more on flexibility and fluidity than anything. The crowd was getting louder and louder with each clash, and Naruto along with his furry shoulder companion were finding it hard to focus on anything really. The noise was deafening up close with both the clashes and the crowd. Deciding that this was a bit too much, Naruto left the crowd and went a good distance away from them until he heard a howl not too far away from himself. He looked around and saw that he was in the forest now. His fox companion was whimpering as it nuzzled into him a little more. "What's wrong, little guy?" Naruto asked him, only receiving a small yip in the process. Somehow, Naruto understood in a sense that this yip must have meant danger. Sure enough, the second Naruto turned back to his surroundings, there was a pack of wolves starting to circle him. He panicked as he had never seen a wolf before, so this was entirely new to him. He backed away from the pack of wolves as fear was very apparent in his eyes right now. One of the wolves, clearly the alpha judging by his darker fur, snarled at Naruto, but to the boy in question that snarl sounded like a voice. Just mulled down into a low growl. "Who are you?" is what Naruto could most interpret from the alpha. What Naruto said aloud before the alpha snarled again. "Your scent is different. Familiar. Ancient. Not like ours, but similar." "Familiar," the alpha snarled out. "I can understand you," Naruto said more to himself than the alpha. "What do you mean my scent is different?" The alpha went over to Naruto, slowly, almost cautiously, watching the blonde's every move to ensure it was safe for his pack. He circled Naruto a few times, taking in his scent in the process, and started to relax from the look in his eyes. Naruto noticed this, wanted to ask the alpha a few questions, but that was when a kunai pierced the ground between Naruto and the alpha. Naruto turned and saw that woman from before, Saya, leap towards him, sword drawn and at the ready. The alpha growled as did the other wolves before he looked back to Naruto. "Speak later, cub." Before Naruto could say anything, Saya had landed near him and held him to her with her sword pointed towards the wolves. Others, like Akiba, showed as well and surrounded the two. At the sight of the humans, the wolves retreated, but the alpha turned to look at Naruto one last time before heading off with the rest of the pack. Once they were gone, the swordsmen and women around relaxed, only for Akiba to push through and confront the blonde boy. "Kid, what the hell is wrong with you?" he yelled out, much to Naruto's surprise. "Those wolves would have killed you if we hadn't shown up." "That's enough, Akiba," Saya said to him as she picked up Naruto with her free left arm, surprising the boy even more. "Can't you tell that this kid is hurt? I'm taking him to the medic. Everyone else, fight's over. Get back to your posts." The group of people dispersed and Saya started walking over to a large tent with a red cross on it. Naruto remembered that symbol from Konoha General and shuddered a bit in her hold. Saya felt this and smirked a little before asking an important question. "So tell me, kid, just what exactly are you doing out here in the middle of the forest with no shoes and tattered clothes? You a runaway or a homeless person by any chance?" Naruto looked at her for a bit before feeling a nudge from the little fox companion on his shoulder, almost like he was urging the boy on. "Well, I did run away, but I just don't remember what direction it's in." Saya sighed a bit in an exaggerated way before asking another question. "What's your name and where exactly is your village? I'm pretty sure your parents are worried sick for you." Naruto shook his "I don't have any parents. Never have actually." Saya gasped a bit, and went wide-eyed for a second before regaining her composure. "Then what's your name?" "Mine's Saya." "Saya Den?" Naruto smiled his usual grin, and was about to answer before a voice in his head talked in a deep and dark tone. "Don't tell her your last name." Naruto would have asked who that was, but decided not to and went with what it said. "My name is Naruto Kazuyuki, and I'm originally from Konoha. Saya nearly stumbled at the name of his village. She looked at him with wide eyes and asked, "You ran all the way from Konoha to here?" Naruto tilted his head but answered truthfully. "Well, I did fall and knock myself out, but yeah, I did run pretty far, I guess." "Why do you look so shocked?" "Because Konoha is at least a 3 days run from here, and that's at Jounin level speeds." Naruto went a little wide-eyed. He may not know a whole lot about the rankings of ninja, but he knew that Jounin was one of the highest ranks you could get aside from Hokage. How did he get here so fast if it would take a Jounin 3 days to do so? Saya shook her head since she could see the look of shock in the boy's eyes and went into the medical tent to get him treated. While Saya was handling Naruto, Akiba, along with a few more swordsmen, were more than a little skeptical of their uninvited guest. While the swordsmen were simply talking about the kid, Akiba was more concerned as to why the wolves didn't attack him. Instead, it looked like the alpha was just watching him with interest and hunger. It was a bit nerve-wracking now that he thought about it. The kid was also talking to the wolf. Talking to a wolf? That's just rich, yet something told Akiba that this kid was hiding something. Something dangerous. Later. About half an hour later, both Saya and Naruto are walking along in the village. The medic of the small village was very surprised that the boy was the picture of perfect health, even after hearing from Saya that he ran away from Konoha as is. This enticed the medic, a burly man with dark brown hair and a beard, to ask her questions, but was waved off by her. Saya didn't know why, but she felt the need to get the boy dressed properly and give him some place to eat and sleep for now. Call it mother's instinct if you will, but she wound up giving the 4-year-old some clothes. A pair of black shorts, a white shirt, and an orange coat that just worked for him. Alright Naruto, Saya started as she led him to a large black tent that had a white kanji 4 sun on it. I don't know why you ran away or how you got all the way here in such a short time, but I should probably take you back there. Your parents are probably worried SI. She stopped herself when she remembered that he said he's never had parents. She opened the flap to the tent and beckoned Naruto inside. He obliged and went in to see a wide open area with black flooring, a shelf next to a wood-carved desk, lavishing chairs with the cushions on the seats around a small wood-carved table, and 4 beds of varying sizes. The largest one looked like it could fit about 5 people on it. Wow! Naruto said under his breath, his fox companion looking around from his shoulder. Naruto turned around to Saya. You live here? Saya smirked and nodded to him. They didn't really converse all too much as Saya had someone prepare a small meal for the boy. It wasn't anything too large, just some deer meat and soup. Naruto looked at the cooked deer meat as did his fox, and they both ate. Saya was a little surprised at how Naruto was eating the food along with the fox. The sight reminded her of someone who was the exact same way. She shook her head and brought herself back to her senses when she saw Naruto yawn after eating the meat. Same with the fox, who was now in his lap. Naruto rubbed his eyes to wipe the sleep away only to find himself and his fox being carried to one of the beds by Saya. She laid him down and set the sheets over him, while the fox cuddled up next his face. Saya smirked when she saw how fast asleep the boy and fox were and left to deal with her followers' concerns. You don't run a village's worth of an organization by showing this side of weakness often. Darkness. Naruto felt weightless once again as he slept. He felt a slight chill despite knowing that that woman wasn't just going to throw him out once he fell asleep. For a short time, he felt cold and uncomfortable on the bed he knew he was in. It was only when he thought of that warmth that he felt the other night that he felt it again. He was wrapped in its warmth once again, and it felt so nice for him. Before he could truly slip into the blissfulness, he heard a voice speaking to him, softly yet with a dark tone. Naruto. The voice started. Wake up, Kit. Naruto, still in the embrace, opened his eyes and saw that he was in dark sewer with a massive gate in front of him and pipes all converging on said cage. He looked up and saw something was behind the large cage. Something covered in red fur. Said red fur was out of the cage, a tail from the looks of it, and was wrapped protectively around Naruto. I finally get to see my jailer. The voice from behind the bars spoke again. The bonding seems to have worked perfectly as well. Good. Who are you? Naruto asked, surprising the voice by his lack of fear. A pair of red eyes looked straight at Naruto and rose up a bit before kneeling down in front of the cage. The tail that had Naruto moved him closer to the cage, and Naruto could get a better look now that his eyes were adjusted to the darkness. He could see that it was a giant fox with 9 tails, one of which was still wrapped around him. Whoa! Naruto whispered with a glint in his eye. I'm the Kyuubi no Kitsune, Naruto. The 9-tailed fox. The Kyuubi said to him, expecting a scared reaction only to see the boy smile at him. You're not afraid? Why would be afraid if you're the one making me warm? Naruto answered him with the same smile. The Kyuubi smirked at the boy and decided to explain the unasked questions that Naruto was thinking about. I'm sealed inside of you. This place is your mind and it looks this way from your years of pain and suffering. You can change it anytime you want now that you can enter it freely. Naruto decided to test that out and thought of someplace else. In an instant, the duo was in a lush forest and surrounded by tall trees. The trees' leaves were heavy enough not to see the sky but still let sunlight through it. The Kyuubi was very impressed by Naruto's imagination. After Naruto opened his eyes and looked around real quick, a thought occurred to him, and he asked, Hey Q-san. You said the something about a bonding working. What do you mean by that? Kyuubi huffed a bit at the little pet name before answering his jailer. The bonding I used on you is a demon's contract. It's linked to me, and now it's linked to you. Naruto tilted his head at this. What exactly does that mean, Q-san? It means that I have bonded a contract to you that allows you to communicate with other animals of my kind. Foxes, wolves, dogs, coyotes, whatever. Kyuubi continued. It also allows you to use them, and their natural affinity chakra. Natural affinity? Naruto asked as he tilted his head a little. Kyuubi chuckled a little and answered. All living creatures have chakra, Naruto. Even animals, but my kind have a natural affinity to them. Foxes have fire. Wolves have lightning. Dogs have wind. And coyotes have earth. And now it's up to me to teach you how to utilize those affinities in those animals. Whoa! Naruto said with a glint in his eye only to remember something important. That alpha wolf from earlier. I could understand him. How? Easy. With the demon contract to me, you can communicate with them easily. You can even summon them with some practice, though I'm sure that little fox would be happy to be your fire affinity. Naruto smiled warmly as he thought of it. If he could learn how to fight with them and summon them, then he was going to be a powerful ninja in the future. He could return to Konoha and become a ninja there, but then he had a thought come to him. He looked to Kyuubi with a big smile and asked him, would I be able to use them through a sword, Q-san? Konoha, dusk. Back in Konoha, news had spread that the demon boy had fled from the village. There was an uproar of celebration at this that was, as quickly as possible, stopped by every umbu that Hiruzen could muster up. It didn't stop the fact that people in the village were beyond ecstatic that Naruto was gone now. Not many people felt anything towards the blonde aside from Hiruzen and the Ichirakus, but that was about it. Hiruzen took a puff of his pipe and looked up to the Hokage monument. More specifically, the fourth. Oh Minato. You would be so disappointed in the people of your village. Outside among a certain clan district was one of the kids that Naruto ran into when he ran away from the mob last night. His black hair and onyx eyes locked on his brother preparing to leave for a mission. A long-term one. The boy saw his older brother putting on his umbu gear and sighed in a saddened way. This caught the older boy's attention as he turned to his little brother. Sasuke. The older one said as he knelt down to his little brother. It's just for a few days, okay? I'll be back before you even know it. Sasuke sniffed a bit but nodded to the older of the two. It's just, you've never been gone this long, Itachi. Itachi smiled a little and flicked Sasuke's forehead with his 2 fingers like he always did to annoy him. Sasuke just huffed as Itachi smiled back at him and left through Shunshin. When he left, a note fell to the ground that said, "See you in a few days, Ototo." Sasuke smiled and decided to head out to train like his brother with shurikens and kunai. Naruto. Naruto had just ended his conversation with Q-san and had woken up in time to see Saya awake and doing stretches. He sat up after petting his fox companion, and they both watched her as her back was turned to them. The fox laid in Naruto's lap. They watched her do stretches for her arms, legs, neck, and finally back before Naruto realized what she was wearing. It was just a long white shirt that really just looked a little too big for her, but when she bent down to stretch her back, the shirt rode up. Naruto had never seen a woman's private parts before, but he got a real good eyeful since Saya wasn't wearing anything under the shirt. Even the fox was watching her rear as she bent down. Huh. Naruto started loud enough for Saya to notice and look under her spread legs to see the duo. So that's what guys at the village were looking at the bathhouses back in the village. Weird. Saya blushed heavily and stood up straight. She hiked the shirt down and crossed her arms as she looked at the boy with both anger and embarrassment in her glare. And what exactly are you doing up at this hour? Naruto smiled warmly to her and then bluntly answered. I'm used to waking up this early. It's so no one tries to attack me too early. Saya's mouth went a bit agape at hearing this. What the hell kind of village is Konoha? She thought to herself, shaking those thoughts away for now. Well, be that as it may, after a little breakfast and proper preparations, I'm taking you back to Konohagakure. Now it was Naruto's turn to go a little wide-eyed. He had just spent the entire night talking with Kyuubi about how he was treated in Konoha and how he wishes to get stronger before returning. He knew that Q-san would become Q-sensei later on, but that was just as long as he didn't return to Konoha. Also after their talk, Kyuubi told Naruto something very interesting indeed. Actually, Saya-san. Naruto got off the bed as his fox companion went to his shoulder. He stood up and looked at her straight in the eyes with something Saya had never seen in a 4-year-old before. Determination. I was hoping that you could train me and teach me how to be a ninja and swordsman. She was completely taken aback from this, and had no idea how to answer it. On one hand, she would be insane to take in a child as her student. Take into the account that the rest of her organization would think little of her if she took in stray kids from faraway villages into their ranks, and you have a slight disaster for her leadership. But then there was that look in his eyes. That look that she thought a child could never possess. It also didn't help that this boy just had an aura about him that was just a little bit enticing to her. Like she just wanted to unleash his true potential. After a bit of thinking, Saya took a deep sigh before looking to him with hardened eyes that made him tilt his head a bit. And why should I, boy? You haven't really proved to me that you deserve any type of training at all. She chuckled a bit under her breath before continuing. That little farce you had with wolves don't really bore confidence in your own abilities. Top off the fact that you ran away from your village because they were hurting, and you basically have me convinced that you'll be a very pathetic ninja. So I'll ask you again. She bent over to get a little eye level to him. Why the hell should I train you? Saya knew exactly what she was doing. She was trying to scare him into waiting when he was old enough. A kid should have a childhood first before training to be a ninja. Naruto looked down, almost like he was in deep thought. It sounded about right in his opinion. What could he do to convince her to train him? It's not like he has anything special about him to garner any attention from anyone really. He was about to answer before the flaps to the tent opened up, revealing a female swordsman panting heavily. Saya-senpai. Those wolves are back again. Saya quickly turned away from her as she gritted her teeth. Damn. Those wolves are getting on my nerves. She turned back to the woman. Defend our food like last time, and make sure that the wounded are treated after this little scuffle. Go! The woman nodded and quickly left to relay the orders to the others. This left Naruto questioning Saya as she went to address her and quickly got dressed, almost forgetting Naruto was in the tent with her. Wolves? Like the Alpha and the others from yesterday? Saya was already in her gear from yesterday when she answered. Yes. They've been a thorn in our side since we came to these woods 3 months ago. A lot of my people have been hurt from their attacks. Some killed. They usually attack at night though, seems like they're getting bolder. She left the tent, sword drawn as she prepared for a battle once again. This left Naruto and his fox alone in the tent, but Naruto decided that this could be the perfect opportunity to test out his demon contract. He poked his head out of the tent and saw 7 wolves attacking one of the tents that looked like it had food inside. He wanted to start with that, but as he made his way out of the tent, he could hear many voices of varying degrees. Don't let them cut you. Stay together. Find food before they slaughter us all. Where is Ren? That name had some sort of weight to it. That name Ren kept coming up. That was when Naruto understood. He was listening to the wolves. Maybe this Ren was important somehow. Naruto was about to run over to the people to tell them to stop, but that was when he was scooped up by the jaws of that Alpha from yesterday. The Alpha carried Naruto away from the fight like it was carrying a cub and stopped outside of the camp. You again? The Alpha started as it looked between Naruto and his pack. Stay away from the fight. Understood? Now that Naruto could fully understand him, his voice sounded like a gruff, warrior type of man. The Alpha was about to speed off before Naruto stopped him. Wait a sec. Are you Ren? The Alpha, now known as Ren, turned around to the boy with confusion clear in his yellow eyes. How do you know that name, cub? Because I can understand you. All of you. Naruto stood up and went over to Ren. Just let me talk to you for a second. Please? Ren thought about it for a second before howling out to the others in his pack. The pack heard his howl and slowly retreated back to the forest to regroup with their Alpha. Once they were all gone, the men and women of the village cheered and chanted out, thinking they drove the wolves away themselves. As they did though, Saya looked back to her tent and didn't see the blonde anywhere in sight. Oh no. Back with Ren and Naruto, the Alpha walked around him a few times and sniffed him as well. His scent was strange. Intoxicating. Comforting. Strange. Ancient. Yet for some reason very familiar. Ren just couldn't put his paw on it. This human boy smelled more like a cub than anything else. Before Ren could speak, the other wolves showed up and saw the boy standing too close to their Alpha. Run! What's this human doing here? One of the wolves, a light-furred one, stepped up and demanded, its teeth baring at the boy. Naruto started to back away as this wolf and the others started to stalk over towards him. That was when Ren stepped in front of them, surprising his pack by how he was protecting the human. This human is not like the others. Ren started. Smell him and you will see. He is more like us than them. The rest of the pack decided to do as their Alpha told them, and one by one they sniffed the blonde. They all felt it. Some kind of familiarity to them. He smelled like them in a sense. They all turned back to Ren for answers only for him to answer now. I don't know what this cub is, but he obviously has something he wishes to say to me. Ren turned to Naruto. So cub, what is it that you wish to say to me? Naruto slightly hesitated but regained himself to answer. I came to ask why all of you are attacking them. Ren huffed at the question and walked over to a rock to lay on. Naruto decided to sit next to him as he answered his question. My pack has had an issue with these humans for a few months now. They came to our home and raised it with their chakra attacks and changed the terrain to suit their needs while we had to abandon our birthplace. It has been hard times since then. With no real home, our cubs are sick and dying from the constant moving, our once steady food supply now being diminished, and the fighting is making the whole pack restless. Naruto listened and was surprised by what he was hearing. The wolves were just trying to get back their home. Maybe you all could live with the swordsmen and women? Naruto asked only to receive a few growls from the pack. You wish for us to live among those that stole our homes. Why should we do that? We should just kill them all for stealing what is ours. Enough. Ren howled out to them, stopping the bickering in its tracks. He then turned to Naruto and sighed. A kind sentiment, but unlike you cub, they cannot understand us. Not like you can. You're something else. Something from ancient times long since past. For your own safety, you should stay with us cub. Naruto thought about that for a second before they all heard a voice filled with power. A nice sentiment, Ren, but this cub must stay with the humans and be trained in their ways first. Ren and his pack could feel the power and demonic presence coming from the boy. The red chakra was all too familiar to them. That ancient feeling as it circled around the boy and formed a shape of a fox. Ren and the pack were in awe of the demon in front of them and bowed their heads in respect while Naruto simply looked at the swirl of red chakra in wonder. Hello, my descendants. Kyuubi started, grabbing the wolves' attention almost immediately. As I said before, this one must be trained with the humans to master control of his own chakra. It would be wise to abide by what he says. This petty little war you all have will be your end, so I'm going to do you all a favor. Before any of them could say anything, the red chakra was gone and back inside Naruto. Said boy's eyes changed to a crimson-red color with black slits to them, his hair became wild and spiky, and his whiskers became furrowed. He looked to the wolves before snapping his fingers. Off in the distance, the sound of earth moving could be heard and the water of a stream was visible to them all. The wolves ran along the forest and came across a clearing of lush greens all around, a cave not too far from the wide stream of crystal-clear water. And it was all surrounded by the still-growing forest that was shielding it all from prying eyes. The wolves all gaped at this wonder and were in an uproar of joyful howls. The Kyuubi-controlled Naruto smirked at his own descendants' happiness, and hoped that this would end their war with the humans. Ren looked to him, and bowed in thanks. Thank you, Ancient One. This will save my pack forever. We are all indebted to you and your cub. The rest of the wolves also bowed to him and Kyuubi simply chuckled under his breath. The only thing that I would ask of one of you is to become a part of a demon contract with this boy. Become his weapon, become his lightning. That is all I ask. Kyuubi could see that a few of the wolves were a bit skeptical to the idea, and so he explained to them even further. This boy, this cub, he will need your help when he returns to his village. He will need to grow stronger, stronger than even the most powerful shinobi or jinchuriki. I will give you all time to prepare for one of yours to accept the contract. Goodbye. And just like that, the red chakra was gone and Naruto was back in control. He shook his head and looked to the wolves who were looking to him, and then back to their new home. Naruto looked to the clearing hidden in the forest and was amazed by it all. Before Naruto could fully appreciate it though, he passed out. Ren caught him at the last moment and had him on his back. The little fox crawled into Naruto's coat pocket once that was done. Ren looked to his pack and with a sigh, he spoke to them. Our ancestor has given us this home not out of pity, but for the greater good of his descendants. We have been given this opportunity to live and prove that we deserve this home. I see no reason to ask any of you to do what I know is necessary for the good of this cub, so that is why I will accept the contract. No. A new voice from one of the female wolves stopped him and stepped up. Her fur was a light brown color, and her eyes shined like two moons, pure white. What are doing, Emmy? Ren asked her as she made her way to him. Doing what must be done. You're our alpha, the pack needs you. She took the boy in her maw and gently placed him on her back. I will accept the contract and be this cub's lightning. It has been a privilege following you, Ren. Goodbye. And with that, Emmy traveled back to the human camp with Naruto in tow. This surprised and shocked many of the wolves, but that was torn away from them when Ren howled out to Emmy and the cub that she was now in the hands of. The others joined in and Emmy stopped to howl in acknowledgement one last time. Good luck, Emmy, Ren said as he finished his howl. And to you too, cub. Saya. Saya had been looking around for the blonde boy that had disappeared for over an hour now. She had combed the entire area around the village with no luck. This kid was very good at getting away from adults. If he could get away from the shinobi of Konoha with ease apparently, then getting away from her was pretty simple. Damn it. Saya muttered to herself as she stopped on a tree branch. Where the hell are you? Almost as if the universe or Kami himself heard her, a howl got her attention. It wasn't like the ones before when the wolves retreated. It was more like something trying to get her attention. She looked around for a short time until she found the location of the howl. There, next to a tall oak tree, was Naruto along with his fox on his shoulder and a wolf sitting on its haunches in front of him. Saya immediately tensed up and was about to rush the wolf with her sword drawn, but she stopped when she heard the boy talking to it. She landed on a tree branch not too far away from them and listened in on what the boy was saying. So you decided to stay with me and accept the contract? Naruto asked her, confusing Saya to what this contract was. The wolf made a few noises, as if it was answering the boy somehow. Saya watched as the wolf seemingly finished its low growls and Naruto started to laugh a bit. To her surprise and confusion, the wolf seemed to smile at him. So then Emmy. Naruto started as he pet her on the head, enticing a low, but satisfying growl from the wolf. Looks like we're gonna be strong together. And with Q-san's and Saya-sensei's help, I know I can get stronger than any ninja. Then I can go back to Konoha and change everything. Believe it? Saya was taken aback from what he was saying. He had so much determination and heart that it was almost impossible for her not to think about it all. But what exactly did he mean by contract? Was he talking to that wolf, and if so, how? Shaking her head, Saya decided to take a chance and jumped down to them, swords still drawn. Emi, as Naruto called her, stood up first and took a defensive pounce in front of Naruto. The boy in question simply stood up and looked at Saya with a big-toothed grin. "Hey Saya-sensei," he said to her, causing Emi to relax and sit back on her haunches. "So, is this proof enough that you should train me?" Saya looked to him, then to the wolf that was surprisingly calm right now. She had no idea what to think anymore, but knew one thing: if it was Naruto that somehow called off the wolves, then maybe she should train him. After thinking for a few seconds and seeing how calm the wolf was in Naruto's presence, Saya sighed and relaxed before sheathing her blade. "If I do this, then I'm going to put you through hell, kid. And don't think that just because you're a child that I'll go easy on you. I'll make sure that by the end of it all, you'll be begging me to take you back to Konoha." She tried to sound as intimidating and scary as possible, but this had the opposite effect of causing Naruto to snicker and pet the wolf some more. After he was finished snickering, he looked to Emi, who nodded to him. Then to his shoulder where his fox companion had been for now, and it nodded. He then turned to Saya with a strong grin and said to her, "We're ready." And this was the start of Naruto's training. Konoha, weeks later. Sasuke was not a happy child. He was just told that his brother Itachi would be gone for yet another week looking for this missing child that left the village weeks ago. It made the black-haired boy mad that his only family that he was truly connected with would be gone even longer. Itachi promised to train Sasuke before this mission. Train in shuriken and kunai throwing, reflex training, some stealth and even a few katan jutsus. Whoever this missing child was, they had better watch it if they ever runs into him in the future. A few of those kids from that night had started to learn about chakra from their parents. Some of them anyway. That shy Hyuga girl was mainly being taught by her trainer at the moment, while her father didn't really want much to do with her. Others, such as the pink-haired girl and the blonde girl, hadn't really paid much attention really, while some, such as the pineapple-haired boy, had. Aside from that, they were told individually that in a few years they would be able to join the academy to become ninja. Some had a mixture of reactions. Some excited, some beyond excited, and some just okay with it. Besides that, Hiruzen was at the end of his time with the search. The council, both civilian, shinobi and elders, wanted to call it off, saying that if even after all this time that even their best tracker Itachi Uchiha couldn't find a trace of the boy, then it probably mean that he was dead. Hiruzen knew that he had to call off the search mission now, and that he could only hope that his old student and his spy network could find something. As Hiruzen stood up from his desk, he sighed, knowing that the council would finally get what they wanted for so long. To be rid of the demon brat, and bring about a new age of peace for all of Konoha. Hiruzen knew this was an absolute joke. One boy wouldn't take down all of Konoha, but maybe he would have if he was to stay here and be treated like a monster. Hiruzen looked to the open window and walked to it. He stopped and looked out into the distance to the sprawling village that seemed to have more of a pep in its steps since Naruto's departure. "Naruto," he started as he took a puff of his pipe and sighed. "I do hope that wherever you are, you're happy there." "Naruto." The blonde boy wasn't happy. He was more irritated than anything. For weeks now he had been trying to get the hang of having to hold a sword and getting used to the weight. True, Saya gave him a practice sword, she wasn't stupid, but he simply couldn't get it down. Kyubi chalked it up to his inexperience at kenjutsu among other things, but Naruto was being stubborn about it. Emi was sitting next to the little fox Naruto had named Yori, and the two were playing while Naruto practiced a few katas. "With all due respect, Naruto-kun," Emi started, getting the blonde's attention. "Wouldn't it be more effective to train your body more so than just rushing into the katas?" Naruto hadn't really thought of that. True, Q-sensei was teaching him of how to somewhat control his massive chakra reserves, but he hadn't really trained him physically. It had always been in his mindscape, as Kyubi would call it. Naruto looked to Emi and huffed a bit in annoyance before relenting. "So, what do you suggest, Emi-chan?" Emi smiled at the gesture, a sign that she and Naruto were really becoming good friends, and answered him. "Maybe trying something basic like working on your endurance, stamina, upper and lower body, and your core. For us wolves, speed and precision are our most useful traits when in battle. Try training in that sense." Huh. Naruto thought. Saya hadn't really been too physical in training and assumed he had good muscle growth and reflexes for his age. So she wasn't too helpful. "You know what, Emi? I think I just got an idea." "And what would that be, Naruto-kun?" the female wolf asked while tilting her head long enough for Yori to take a playful bite of her ear. "While Q-sensei teaches me about chakra and my contracts, and Saya-sensei teaching me about kenjutsu, could you teach me how to be as fast and precise like a wolf?" Emi playfully tapped Yori off her ear and smiled again. "I would be happy to teach you, Naruto-kun." Naruto knew that the path to growing in strength wasn't going to be easy. He was going to need all the help he could get to reach his goals, no matter what. Months later, Naruto had been put through the ringer these past months. Both Emi, Kyuubi, and Saya gave him almost no time for rest during this time, and it paid off wonderfully. Thanks to Emi, Naruto was able to be almost as fast as she was at her full speed. His physical strength had tripled since her teachings and suggestions. Kyuubi had made him a master of the chakra control exercises and even taught him how to walk up trees and on water. Saya, despite not knowing how he went from scrawny and slow to pretty buff for a 5-year-old and faster, was impressed by how he adapted to holding the practice sword. He now was able to last at least 3 minutes in a spar with her, surpassing his last record of only 1. He was getting better with the katas each passing day, and Saya was more and more impressed with his progress. It would still take years for him to hold an actual sword, but Naruto assured her that he would break that time down to a mere year in no time. She laughed at this at first, of course, thinking he was just being an overconfident little gaki, but then she was starting to see how long he would train after practice. He was indeed getting better and stronger for his age. Maybe he could break that time down to just a year. At the rate he was going, it was a possibility. Now though, Naruto was out of the village with Emi and Yori training. He learned how to control his chakra reserves from Q-sensei. Now it was time for the real training. Being able to summon Emi and use her affinity properly. Q-sensei had bounded Emi to Naruto through the demon contract months ago when Emi volunteered for it, yet he told Naruto to hold off on the training until he mastered chakra control. Since now was the best time to, Naruto was getting instructions from Q-sensei right now. Alright Naruto. This is the real deal. Now I've already bonded Emi to you, so all you have to do is perform the summons. Just like I taught you. Kyuubi told him with a little bit of worry that something could go wrong easily if Naruto messed up something. Ready you two? Ready Q-sensei. Naruto told him enthusiastically as he prepared himself with a deep breath. I have faith in Naruto's abilities, Kyuubi, Emi said to the chakra demon inside of Naruto with a smile. Yori stood far away from the two and watched intently as they stood in front of each other. Naruto took his thumb and bit down on it, drawing some blood, and performed the hand signs necessary for the summons. He raised his hand into the air, summoning the chakra needed, and slammed his hand down while shouting out, Kuchios no Jutsu. He slammed his hand down onto the ground and a puff of smoke engulfed him and Emi. Yori watched on with anticipation for his friends and was surprised when he saw Naruto standing next to Emi. Something about her was a little different now. Her once light brown fur was sparking with lightning and her eyes were a deep crackle of yellow lighting. Her paws all the way up her legs were also covered in the lighting and she looked more feral than anything. Yori also saw Naruto and saw him breathing deeply, almost as if he was out of breath. He hunched over and was catching his breath when he turned to Emi and smiled weakly. Emi in turn did the same. I think I got it, Naruto said weakly. Not quite, Kit, Kyuubi said to them. I'm surprised you were able to make it this far on your first attempt. But if it was a true success, then her entire body would be covered in lightning, not just her legs. Naruto did a little huff before raising himself up and stretching. He undid the summons and Emi was back to herself again. How do you feel, Emi-chan? I feel alright now, she answered as she rubbed him a bit, causing him to sit down and pet her behind the ear. In all honesty, being summoned felt strange. And being like that I felt a little feral. Like if you told me to fight and kill 100 men, I could with no problem. Really? Naruto asked, receiving a nod from her. He smiled that big-toothed smile of his, then stood up, rejuvenated. Alright. Then let's try this again. Emi smiled and prepared herself for a long training session. 3 years later, Konoha. A lot has happened in the village in the past 3 years. The Uchiha massacre being the most horrific. Itachi Uchiha had killed the entire clan except for his younger brother, Sasuke. It kind of left the boy a bit messed up in the head. Not like most people thought, thinking that he wanted power or revenge on his brother at any cost. He just made people think that so they could stop pestering him and showering him like a goddamn precious jewel, or something. He didn't want special treatment by no means, he just wanted to know why from Itachi's mouth. The last thing he remembered about his brother before he placed him under the genjutsu was that he was crying. A merciless traitor doesn't cry when killing people. It took Sasuke some time to process why Itachi would do such a thing, and he even did his own investigation. But every time he would get even a monochrome of a clue, one of the elders on the council would lead him on. Something wasn't right here. Why were they trying so hard to keep him from this? Did this have to do with those talks that Sasuke's father was having with some of the other men of the clan? Sasuke had too many questions and no answers to any of them. One thing was for sure, Sasuke needed to get stronger. Stronger so that when he does confront the truth, he'll be ready. Right now though, he was just asking Kami himself for one thing as he sat in the academy classroom. Please kill me now. As it stands right now, Sasuke had so many fangirls all around him that it made training near impossible. True, he remembered his brother teaching him a few things back then, but he still needed to know more of the basics before he could really start training. And these fangirls all trying, some a little too desperately than others, to get his attention by constantly getting in his way was an annoyance. Top off the fact that both the assigned sensei and the assistant sensei were also bending over backwards rather unnecessarily, and you had a very pissed off 8-year-old. After today, being only a random day in the middle of the first year mind you, Sasuke decided to head on home. Against the wishes of the elders and practically everyone who tried to adopt him, Sasuke was very adamant about staying in his own home. It took him a while to clean the place up and wash all the blood away, but he soon made it all clean. There was no way he was going to disgrace his mother, who was his favorite parent, and his brother's family name just to appease those old fools on the council. As Sasuke made his way in the compound, he looked around the silent streets, remembering every bloody body that was there that night. Although something about most of the dead now that he thinks about it didn't add up. Nichan was always about stealth, precision, and causing a painless death for his enemies. Sasuke thought as he reached home. Why were some treated that way and others cut apart like animals? That's not like an Ai-chan. Then what really happened that night? Sasuke didn't know what was what, but he knew that when he meets Itachi again, he would get the answers he sought after. Even if he wouldn't like them. Last time skip, 4 years later, Naruto. 4 years. 4 pretty long, strenuous, and difficult years. Training, practicing, sparring against others, all that jazz, and now finally Naruto was able to say that he matched practically anyone here in this village. Even Saya couldn't teach him anything else. He had already mastered taijutsu, trained to break all forms of genjutsu, knows a variety of katan, futon, raiton, and even suiton jutsus, and was a master of kenjutsu. He had even mastered the summons for both Emi for raiton attacks and Yori for katan attacks. That was some fun times for sure in Naruto's opinion. Kyubi had told him to expand his summons so he could have Doton and Futon as well as Suiton summons. Kyubi had also taught him the Shadow Clone Jutsu. Finding a coyote for Doton abilities and a jackal for Suiton would be a little difficult, but finding a dog gave Naruto a very devious idea. Especially when he asked Kyubi if the Inuzuka clan were a part of the same family as foxes and dogs. Let's just say that Kyubi gave Naruto some very ingenious ways of getting back at the clan for all the times that they sicked their dogs on him for no reason. Right now, Naruto stood in front of his various amount of teachers in the village. He was wearing a dark orange coat with a black kanji on the back 4 fox that went to his thighs with a dark red shirt under it. He wore black umbu cargo pants that had a pouch for his kunais and other items attached to his right pants leg. He had his own custom sword attached to his back in a deep blue sheath. The handle was a brilliantly bright yellow with a white guard to it that attached to a serrated blade that was sharpened to the T. He had grown his hair a bit so no it was past his shoulders and he had it in a ponytail so it wouldn't get in the way of his battles. He also wore a black headband over his forehead with the dual swords crossing on the front and silver linings. A reminder of just who exactly trained him all these years. To his right was Emi, who hadn't really changed much, and to his left was Yori, who had grown and could talk to Naruto now. Saya went up to the blonde who was now tall enough to be level with her impressive bust, and smiled down to him. When you showed up here, you were just a child that didn't know any better. Now you wield a sword beyond the like of any master I have ever seen. You show wisdom, courage, strength, speed, stamina, endurance, and chakra to make even an A-rank ninja think twice before taking you on. A 12-year-old with the strength and skill of us all. Carry that sword with honor, Naruto Kazuyuki of Konohagakure, and forge your own path. When Saya finished, the rest of the villagers in the camp bowed to Naruto as did he along with Emi and Yori. Thank you, Saya-sensei, Naruto said as he stood straight. I swear I won't let you or any of you down. Databeo, he yelled out giving them all a thumbs up. And with that, Naruto Uzumaki left that village camp. Left not only stronger like a ninja, but cunning like a fox, as fast as a wolf, and almost as powerful as a demon. Konoha, 3 days later. Hiruzen was looking to Team 7 right now as the pink-haired banshee was demanding a real mission now. Their sensei reading his smut and thinking about other things. The Inuzuka boy who was very obnoxious for a genin. And finally the only one who looked like he was interested in being a ninja, Sasuke. Despite being a part of a team now, Sasuke hated the fact that he was teamed up with a useless fangirl, a kid with a massive ego and superiority complex, and a Jounin sensei whose idea of training was just doing a bunch of useless chores. Hell, Sasuke learned more from the Uchiha archives than he did from the one-eyed masked man. Today though would finally be different. The Hokage had just given them a mission outside of the village. Sure, it was escorting an annoying drunkard, but at least Sasuke could finally get away from all those ass-kissers in Konoha. Maybe even truly test his skills and see if Kakashi-sensei will actually train the 3 during their time outside. As they walked, Tazuna proved to really test their patience. Since they had to walk at a civilian's pace, the 3 genin ninja were already antsy and bored out their minds. Kiba more so than the others. Why can't we just move faster, sensei? He groaned, much to the annoyance of both Kakashi and Sasuke. Kakashi didn't really pay him much attention as he continued to read his little orange book. Well, it's because we have a civilian to guard who isn't a ninja, last I checked. Kiba groaned and looked over to Sakura. She was a beauty in his eyes. Perfect material for a mate to dominate. Of course, there was also a shy Hyuga girl he wanted to mark as well. It was just too bad that she didn't really see him that way, and it pissed him off to no extent. It also pissed him off whenever he did want to ask any other girl out only to be shot down because they wanted to date their precious Sasuke-kun. He hated the Uchiha for that. While Sakura was trying to fondle all over him, Sasuke noticed a puddle in the middle of the road. They passed it, but he turned around and looked at it really quickly before looking to the sky and scoffing. What kind of idiot places a genjutsu of a puddle in a dry season? Sasuke thought to himself. Sure enough, a little ways after, the group was attacked by the demon brothers. Sasuke held off one while Kakashi easily defeated the other. Kiba wanted to prove himself and join in to take some of the glory, but Sasuke had already beaten the other brother. Sakura was standing next to Tazuna with a kunai in her shaky hands. After Kakashi and Sasuke took care of the demon brothers, Tazuna spilled the beans. He explained everything from Gato to the bridge, and what it would do for Wave. Sasuke was appalled by this Gato man and his harsh treatment of the people of Wave, vowing that if he got the chance that he would burn the man to ashes. It took some convincing from the 3 genin, but eventually Kakashi caved from the pressure and decided to continue on with the mission. He summoned Pakken and informed him to notify the Hokage about the mission changing. As he watched his Niken summon run off, he saw for a quick moment that Pakken looked over to the direction they were heading off to. The look in Pakken's eyes were the same as they were 8 years ago. That wasn't going to help put Kakashi's mind at ease. After a few hours of walking, they found themselves almost at Wave. That was when a heavy mist rolled around. Kiba, using his oh-so-capable sense of smell, sarcasm, threw a kunai into a bush. "God ya!" He yelled out only for a white bunny rabbit to come out. "Wow, you nearly killed a vicious bunny ninja." Sasuke started sarcastically as he chuckled under his breath. "Shut the hell up, SAS." Kiba didn't get to finish though as Kakashi yelled out to them. "Everyone, get down! Now!" Everyone did as they were ordered and avoided a massive sword that nearly cut them all in two. The blade lodged itself in a tree and a man wearing patterned pats, no shirt, and many bandages over his mouth landed on the hilt of it. He wore a headband with the symbol for Kirigakure scratched out on it. "Heh," he started as he turned to them all. "Seems I underestimated you little children pretending to be ninja." Zabuza Momochi. Kakashi started as his one visible eye went wide. "Kakashi Hatake?" Zabuza chuckled out. "The copy ninja. Said to have over 1,000 jutsus under his belt. Heh. This will be fun after all." "Protect the bridge builder," Kakashi ordered them as he took out a kunai. That was when Zabuza jumped up with his sword in hand. The others nodded and did as they were told, though Kiba was really itching to get involved in this fight. Sasuke knew better though. He figured that there was a reason their sensei was on edge during this fight. Now he knew. This was a battle between 2 jounin to the death. No spar. No referee. Just 2 ninja who want to kill each other. Sasuke took a few deep breaths to calm his nerves and watched as his sensei faced off against this missing nin. As the two fought on, off in the distance, one person in a mask watched the battle with interest. A hunter nin was in a tree as the 2 jounin fought in the mist. Little did this hunter know that there was another set of eyes watching the battle as well. 20 minutes ago, Naruto along with Yuri and Emi were now in Wave Country. It had been a pretty uneventful few days as they stopped at few inns along the way back to Konoha. Emi and Kyubi did advise that he take the return slowly. He may have changed drastically in these 8 years, but that didn't mean that the people of Konoha did. The 3 were on the path back to Konoha through Wave when all 3 of them heard the sound of clashing metal. They looked over to where the sound was originating from and it was Yuri that broke the silence. "Who do y'all think is fighting out there?" "I honestly don't know, Yuri-kun." Emi started, then looked to Naruto. "It's best not to check and continue onward though." "Wait a second," Naruto said as he took a real hard look to the chakra signatures that were there. He counted 5 and a faint civilian one. "Someone's fighting for a reason over there." "What do you mean, Naruto-kun?" Emi asked before he rushed off. Both the wolf and fox looked at each other, then back to the still running Naruto and chased after him. It didn't take long for them to reach Naruto as he was perched in the bushes of a tree, watching the battle take place down below. They watched as both men fought each other. The one with the massive blade Naruto recognized as one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist, Zabuza Momochi. Saya had talked about a group of great swordsmen that would test any master, so for Naruto, This was going to be his first big test to see just how powerful he truly is. He waited above for a while until he finally noticed the other man. He was wearing a Konoha headband along with the other three protecting some old man. Naruto gasped at this and wondered just what was going on. Those three were clearly genin level on a high-stakes mission like this one. They looked green from the way some of them were shaking a bit. Naruto decided that he might need to be careful when he revealed himself, but then he thought that maybe they don't know him. It was a possibility. After some really good shots from both men, Naruto saw the silver-haired man lift up his headband to reveal a Sharingan to his left eye. Naruto, along with the boy who had raven black hair, gasped in shock. The fight was turning in the silver-haired man's favor, until he made one critical flaw. He didn't take into account of the water. Zabuza kicked him into the water, and he rose up rather slowly. "This water is dense. Heavy," he said before Zabuza appeared right behind him. "Fool. To think you could beat me." Zabuza went through several hand signs before finishing. "Suetun, water prison jutsu." Kakashi was put inside a water bubble, and the others started to panic. He looked to them all with wide eyes. "Listen. Take the bridge builder and run. He's too out of your league." His order fell on terrified ears as the genin were too scared to move. Their sensei had just been defeated so easily and soundly that it shook them to their core. The idea that they could all die right here, right now ever present even further. "HN," Zabuza started as he summoned a water clone that went charging towards the four. "I guess your little pathetic excuse for genin are done, Kakashi." Kakashi could only watch in horror, as his team was going to be killed, and it would all be his fault. He didn't bother training them with any real-life combat. Just petty teamwork that didn't seem to go anywhere. Was this really his punishment? For Rin? For Obito? For his sensei? Was this his punishment for them? All he could do was close his eyes and try to drown out the cries of pain and death that would come from them. Clang! Kakashi opened his eyes and looked over to where his team and Tazuna would have been killed. When he looked there, though, he was shocked to see another child with sun-kissed hair, piercing blue eyes and a sword that was clashing with Zabuza's. "What the hell?" the Zabuza clone said in slight disbelief as this kid stopped his blade with just a standard-looking sword. "And just who in the hell are you, kid?" Naruto smiled at this and did the unbelievable. He forced Zabuza back with great force. Everyone was surprised at what they just saw and went wide-eyed. Even the hunter Nin. The boy in question simply looked to Zabuza and his smile widened. "My name is Naruto Uzumaki." He pointed his blade to the clone, then to real Zabuza. "And I'm your opponent now." "Where we left off." Zabuza looked at Naruto like he had grown a second head. How could a genin, a child genin at that, force him back like this? It was absolutely impossible, wasn't it? Zabuza shook those thoughts from his mind and stood up straight. He placed his blade on his shoulder and huffed. A momentary lapse in power due to him being surprised and not using all of his strength. That was it. That's all there was to it. This kid just caught him by surprise. The three genin and the old man looked at the blonde in confusion and shock. Sakura was both shocked and upset. Shocked that they were saved by some blonde stranger, and upset because he didn't allow her precious Sasuke-kun to save her. Kiba was too frozen in place to actually respond at first. Something about this kid felt familiar. Like he's seen him before long ago. Also taken to the fact that his scent smelled strange and almost dominant compared to his own, and Kiba was not a happy little genin. Who the hell does this punk think he is stealing my chance to impress Sakura like that? The Inuzuka thought to himself as he bared his teeth in anger, while Akamaru whined a bit and took cover under his partner's hood. Sasuke was brought out of his fears at seeing the blonde. Unlike his two teammates, he saw this as the opportunity to fight back. To prove that he deserves this headband and deserves to be a ninja. He clenched his fist as he took a few deep breaths to calm himself. Once he was calm, he took the time to look at the blonde. Something about him, his looks and his name, felt like a memory to the Uchiha. What was it? Was it something good, or something bad? Whoever this blonde was, Sasuke would have to thank him after they dealt with this missing Nin. Kakashi felt like he had heard that name before. A name that he was told before, but what was it? He could ponder that later. Right now the Zabuza water clone was preparing for an attack. Before Kakashi could tell the blonde to run away or that Zabuza was out of his league, the missing Nin charged at the boy. Said boy was motionless as the clone came rushing towards him. Everyone thought that he was crazy for not at least attempting to raise his sword to defend himself, even Zabuza. That all changed once Zabuza's clone went for a downward slash to end the boy, only to find that the blonde was gone in a puff of smoke. "What?" the water clone said in surprise. "A shadow clone?" "That's right," the recognizable voice said from above. The water clone looked up only to be caught completely off guard when the real Naruto came down and went for a slash of his own. The water clone brought his blade up and the two clashed. When they did though, Everyone was amazed that the clone was forced down to a knee. Even the actual Zabuza was stunned by this. Who the hell is this kid? Zabuza thought to himself. That's twice he overpowered me. How? The others were thinking the same thing as the blonde smiled a big toothy smile to the clone. Naruto took his stance, a hybrid stance he picked up from watching Saya and Akiba practice, along with his own stance. He looked like he was crouching almost to one knee while he held his sword straight next to his face with his elbow bent. His unoccupied left hand was clenched like a paw and closer to the ground in front of him. What the hell? Kiba said aloud. What kind of fighting style is that supposed to be? Sakura agreed with Kiba, obviously, while Sasuke simply watched and waited to see what this Naruto could do. The Zabuza clone was a little apprehensive of approaching. He had never seen a stance like this before. Deciding no to chance it, the clone went through a series of hand signs and was about to call out a jutsu, but that was when the blonde struck. Faster than lightning, he was from his previous spot, to directly behind the clone with his sword now extended from him. The ninjas and the bridge builder went wide-eyed as the clone turned to water and then steam. Naruto stood up straight and looked right at the actual Zabuza with a smirk. That the best you got, Momochi-san? Naruto placed his blade on his shoulder now. I expected more from one of the famed 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. Or more specifically the oh-so-famous demon of the hidden mist. Zabuza was seething. Not only had this Gaki overpowered him twice, he also took down his water clone with no trouble and was taunting him. If he wasn't holding his water prison jutsu to keep Kakashi at bay, then he would go over there and show this Gaki what a real demon is. Sasuke was beyond astounded at this point. He couldn't believe what he just saw. A boy most likely around his age with so much power and speed. If he were really some power-hungry emo king, then he would have demanded that Naruto teach him. Man, it's a good thing he wasn't like that. LOL. Kakashi, even with his Sharingan active, couldn't fully see that attack. To everyone else it was like 1 minute Naruto was there, then the next he was just behind the clone. To Kakashi, it looked like an orange blur. How is a kid like this so fat that even I could barely keep track of him? Naruto, still smirking, waited for Zabuza's next move, but noticed that his taunts didn't have the intended effect. He insulted the man to get him to drop the water prison so he would be at an even greater disadvantage. True, Naruto could possibly take him down by himself, especially when either Yori or Emi get involved, but he also knew that he shouldn't get cocky and overconfident. That would lead to his downfall if he ever did that. Zabuza weighed in his options. This kid was clearly strong. A little too strong for his age. He couldn't really risk sending another water clone for fear of draining the rest of his chakra. He also couldn't risk setting Kakashi free. Then he would have a Jounin and this kid to deal with, and he doubted that Haku could handle them both on his own. Before he could think of anything else, he heard a shout from behind him. Demon Wind Shuriken. He turned just in time to see a large windmill shuriken coming straight for his right arm. The arm that held Kakashi in place. He quickly jumped away from the attack and unintentionally released Kakashi Hatake in the process. Zabuza landed not too far away as Kakashi was getting his bearings. He looked to where the shuriken was thrown and saw the black-haired genin standing on the shore with a smirk on his face. You damned Gaki! Zabuza yelled out. I think you have other things to worry about, Zabuza, Kakashi said as his Sharingan stared right at the man. Before he could do anything though, the almost forgotten blonde made his presence known in a big way. Hey Zabuza! Naruto yelled out, getting everyone's attention. They turned and saw something unbelievable. Naruto had his sword drawn back and it was covered in flames. A fox was standing right next to him, but it was completely on fire, and had 3 tails swishing around it. Eat this! Katan Kenjutsu, Burning Kitsune! Before anyone could respond or even blink, Naruto slashed towards Zabuza. The flames from the sword fired towards him as did the flame-covered fox. Zabuza could only block as the flames engulfed him, yet he was still standing. At least until the fox showed and rammed its way towards him. There was an explosion as the mist was replaced with smoke and impeding everyone's line of sight. Once the smoke cleared, Zabuza was leaning against a tree with several burn marks on him. He was panting hard and couldn't lift his blade at all. The fox, which was still on fire and now had 2 tails, stood in place as Naruto walked up to it. Nice job, Yori. Naruto praised his fox with a smile. Yori yipped at his friend and they both looked to the burnt-up Zabuza. While they were preparing to end him, everyone else was in awe of what they just saw. Kakashi, even with his years of experience and knowledge in jutsus, had never seen anything like that before. A Katan Jutsu mixed with a Kenjutsu mixed with a summons? That's never been seen before throughout the entire elemental nations. How had this kid done it? And just what exactly did he sign to get a fox summons like this? Too many questions right now for this Jounin. Sasuke was absolutely taken aback from that jutsu. He had never seen anything like that before and it made his great fireball look like a tennis ball compared to that. He had no idea just how this blonde had been able to do that, but maybe he could ask for some help with that. Couldn't hurt really. As long as he doesn't act like he has a superiority complex like Kiba does. Boy, he could only imagine how said Inuzuka thought right now. The simple thought brought a smirk to the Uchiha's face. Speaking of Kiba, the boy was the most shocked at what he saw. Not only had some random kid shown up and fought this missing nin even their own sensei couldn't beat, but he summoned a fox out of nowhere and defeated said missing nin with an attack like that. Kiba would be livid if it weren't for that scent again, only this time it was much stronger and was almost commanding him to treat this boy as his alpha. Kiba shook his head to get that thought away from him. Akamaru was still whining at the sight though and stayed huddled close to his partner. Sakura was simply stunned by what she saw, and her fangirlish ways kicked in as she saw the blonde again. She blushed at the sight of him and swallowed hard. He was strong, a little bit taller than her, looked like he was lean for his age, and strong. Very strong. Wow, she said to herself. Naruto was about to go over and put the finishing touches on Zabuza when a few senbons came out of nowhere and pierced the man's neck. Naruto and the others were very surprised by this and saw a hunter nin in a mask land not far from the downed Zabuza. Kakashi checked his vital signs and confirmed that he was indeed dead. With that, Kakashi lowered his headband over his left eye again and took a long sigh. I must thank you for your help, the hunter said to them all. If it wasn't for all of you, I wouldn't have been able to kill and capture Zabuza Momochi on my own. Thank you and farewell. The hunter picked up Zabuza's body and that was an immediate red flag to Naruto. Aren't you going to take his head and burn the body, Hunter-san? The hunter nin turned to the blonde and could see him tense up. Almost like he was ready for another fight. Had he been found out? If that is the case, then now was the time to leave, fast. I do not wish to do so in front of children so casually. Naruto huffed a bit and relaxed. Yeah. I guess you're right. Wouldn't want you showing that type of death to a bunch of kids now, huh? The hunter couldn't really tell fully, but he caught a sense of sarcasm in his tone. Almost like he was pushing and pushing hard. Without much more hesitation, the hunter nin bowed and quickly vanished in a shunshin. Once that happened, Kakashi coughed a bit to get the blonde's attention. Naruto and Yori turned around to see the man standing not too far from them. I don't know why you showed up or how you're this strong, but I won't look a gift horse in the mouth. Thanks. Naruto smiled a big smile before sheathing his blade and doing a hand seal. Yori was no longer covered in flames and only had one normal tail. This was a relief for Kiba and Akamaru as they could finally breathe easily. Naruto looked back to the man with the gravity-defying hair that was still soaked and smiled at him still. No problem. I was just passing by when I heard the sound of a battle going on. All of you are Konoha ninja, right? The question was met with a nod by Kakashi as his students approached them, Kiba being a little hesitant. Awesome. I was wondering if I could come with you guys back to Konoha when you're finished with your mission. Kakashi and the others looked to the blonde like he was crazy. In fact, thanks in part mostly to the fact that he was trapped in a water prison that was draining his chakra in small dosages, Kakashi passed out from this. All Naruto did was smile and chuckle at that. An hour later, Tazuna's house. It didn't take long after for them to get to Tazuna's place. His daughter, Tsunami, was glad to see her father return safely, but her son, Inari, wasn't the same. The two did agree on one thing though. Why was a masked-wearing ninja being carried by a wolf like he was a piece of meat? It didn't fully matter to them seeing as though they had guests now to help protect the old bridge builder. Naruto was, for the most part, simply avoided by two of the three genin. The pink-haired girl would blush slightly when he spoke to her while the Inuzuka boy that Naruto vaguely recognized just stayed away from him. Naruto did ask Kyuubi why he was doing that and the fox demon responded by saying Naruto's scent was one of dominance to the Inuzukas. Naruto smiled at that and already had a plan for payback when he returned to Konoha. The only one who was at least trying was the Uchiha. At first, Naruto actually wanted to avoid him because of what he heard about the Uchiha massacre. He figured that this last Uchiha was a bit of an avenger who was obsessed with power. Fortunately, that wasn't the case once Sasuke introduced himself and Kyuubi could tell that his intentions were good. The two mainly talked about how amazing Naruto's attack was and his pet fox and wolf. It came as a real shock to Sasuke when Naruto told him that the two of them were actually his summons. That rocked Sasuke's mind hard, but he decided not to press on the matter. Once they were all situated in the house, and after the initial shock from Tsunami when she saw both Yori and Emi, Kakashi was placed on a couch to recuperate. Tazuna set his things down and introduced his daughter and grandson to the group of genin and young swordsmen. Sakura bowed to the woman while Kiba simply nodded to her, dirty thoughts filling his mind at her amazing body. Naruto waved at her with his big, goofy smile and introduced himself. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. And these two are my friends, Yori and Emi. When he introduced the two, both nodded to Tsunami in a gentle way. Sasuke introduced himself with a bow as well as he had an amused smirk on his face. After introductions were finished, Tazuna decided to turn in for the night. Even though it was only the afternoon time, Tsunami decided to cook for the ninjas that saved her grandfather. As the team sat at the table, Kakashi stirring just a bit, Naruto was sitting on the floor in the living room with both Emi and Yori. He was giving them both portions of his own food. "Hey guys," Kiba whispered to his two teammates at the table. "What's with this kid? He shows up out of the blue, kicks that Zabuza guy's ass easily, then just starts helping us. I don't trust him." Truth be told, Kiba really didn't trust him if it weren't for that dominant scent he kept smelling. Something about that scent just told him to follow whatever orders the blonde gave him, like any pack with their alpha. This thought terrified Kiba if he was being honest. "I don't know much," Sasuke whispered back, causing the Inuzuka to huff at that nickname Sasuke gave him. "I talked to him the entire way here, and he seems to be a genuine guy. Very interesting and strong." "There's no way he's stronger than you though, Sasuke-kun," Sakura chimed in while she was still trying to get Sasuke's attention. "No," Sasuke started as he looked to the blonde as he was petting his wolf. "He's stronger." Before anyone could say anything, a shout was heard from the living room by a certain, silver-haired jounin. "Ah! Get it off! Get it off me!" The three genin and the woman of the house quickly ran into the living just in time to see Naruto curling up on the floor, laughing at what was going on. And what exactly was going on, you ask? Well, Yuri was on top of Kakashi's chest, licking his face through his mask. Yuri was very efficient with where he was licking, and apparently Kakashi didn't like that. Tsunami started as she stifled a chuckle at seeing a grown man, a ninja at that, freaking out over being licked by a fox. "Naruto-kun, could you please control your fox?" Naruto wiped away a few tears from his eyes as he sat up. Emi was next to him, shaking her head at the situation. Okay, Yori," said Fox, turned to its master with a raised eyebrow and its tongue still out. "You can stop now. I think I got a good enough laugh out of this." Yori obliged with a yip and jumped off of Kakashi. Said Jounin sat up and was wiping the drool and saliva from his face that the fox left on him. He looked over to see his team trying desperately not to laugh at their sensei cowering before a fox. Then he looked to the blonde on the floor with the wolf next to him and Fox now in his lap. Kakashi had many questions for this kid, but the main one was pretty obvious from the start. "Why did that fox drool all over me?" he yelled out in a pretty comical way. That was the straw that broke the horse's back as the genin team burst out laughing at their sensei's misfortune. All Kakashi could do was huff in a bit or embarrassment. The next day, Sasuke awoke at the crack of dawn and stretched a bit on the bed he was on. Last night was definitely a funny moment for the Uchiha, but it was time to get serious now. Yesterday really showed him just how weak he really was now. He froze at the sight of the man that dealt with his sensei. He froze. It made him feel like he was back in that room with his brother standing over his parents, ready to cut them down. Sasuke shook his head, not wanting to remember that because he just knew that it couldn't be true. Taking a deep breath, Sasuke stood from his bed, got dressed and went outside to train. As he was walking around, he heard what could only be described as a war cry. He heard clashing of metal and assumed that it was Zabuza again. He quickly rushed over to the sound and stopped when he saw Naruto fighting himself. "A clone?" Sasuke said to himself as he watched the blondes fight each other fiercely. "But how?" Sasuke watched the battle intently as Naruto fought himself. He had never seen a kenjutsu battle like this one before. The speed, the power behind the strikes, the ferocity, the technique. It was all completely foreign to the Uchiha. Just as he was about to continue watching, he heard rustling in the bushes and turned quickly only to be tackled. "By what, you ask?" "By a certain, happy fox, that's what." Yori landed on his chest, knocking him to the ground and licked his face with enthusiasm and joy. Sasuke was actually laughing as the fox was practically tickling him. This caught the attention of a certain blonde and his clone as they heard the laughter and turned. Naruto, the real one, smiled and dispelled his clone to walk over to the two. "I see Yori has taken a liking to you." Naruto started as he knelt down to the two. Sasuke was able to sit up and pet Yori, causing the fox to stop and enjoy the Uchiha's soft hands. "You know, in all honesty, I never considered myself a dog person, let alone a fox person." Naruto chuckled a bit as he heard this. "Yeah, well, usually when a fox has this reaction to you almost immediately, it means that they want to stay by your side." Sasuke looked to Naruto with a raised eyebrow. "Stay by my side? But I thought Yori was your fox. Didn't he have the same reaction with you?" "Oh yeah? Big time." Naruto sat down as Emi made her way to them. When she was there, she laid her head down on Naruto's lap and he petted her. All animals are different in their own way, but there's one thing they all have in common. And that is the fact that they're good judges of character. They find the ones that fit their own guidelines and wish to be with and used by that person. That's basically how a true summons works. Sasuke was listening to the blonde intently, and was in awe of his description of summons and animals. So is that why you have Emi and Yori always with you? Naruto smiled and answered him. Yep. They both saw something in me that not many people did. Determination, drive, passion, loyalty, kindness, and mercy. That's a combo not many people have. Naruto looked at how comfortable Yori was in Sasuke's lap. But it looks like you have that too, Sasuke. Sasuke looked at him and gave a smirk as he continued to pet Yori. Yeah, I guess I do. So, what happened to you? Naruto asked, getting Sasuke's attention almost immediately. What do you mean? Sasuke asked, confused by the sudden question. Only people who have gone through something tragic has those qualities so strongly. Naruto answered him and gave him a look of sadness. I know about the Uchiha massacre. What happened? Sasuke sighed as his petting became a little lighter on Yori's back. Taking a deep breath, Sasuke told Naruto what happened. My family, my clan was massacred. I went back to the compound that night after some practice and saw the dead lying on the ground. My Sasuke's voice cracked a bit at reliving that night, but he soldiered on regardless. My brother was the one that did it. He killed everyone in the village. At least that's what everyone keeps telling me. Naruto and Emi raised an eyebrow while Yori looked up to Sasuke, tilting his head ever so slightly. What do you mean, Sasuke? My brother Itachi once told me when we were younger that he hated killing. That the thought of taking away a person's life made him feel sick to his very core. Sasuke continued. He would always try his hardest to make his target's death as quick and painless as possible. Precision was his absolute strongest suite, and the way some of our family looked after the massacre did not look like my brother's work. What do you mean by that? Naruto asked, he and his summons fully encompassed by Sasuke's story. Sasuke took another breath as he tried to hold his tears in. The way the men were killed looked quick and clean, just like the way Itachi would deal with the situation. But when I saw women and children, it was gruesome. They were torn apart like street trash. Sasuke let out a few tears that landed on Yori's head. Said Fox licked his tears away as Sasuke continued. When I finally found Itachi, just before he put me in a genjutsu, I saw him crying. Like he didn't want me to see him like that. Like he was trying to hide his true intentions. Trying to make me hate him, but something just told me that what Itachi showed me was forced in that genjutsu. Naruto could only sit there with his mouth slightly agape. He had no idea that the massacre was like that. Why? Why had Itachi done that? If he was truly precise and hated killing, then why would he kill the women and children like that while being precise with the men? There was too many questions at the moment, and Naruto could see Emi was about to say something. She was interrupted by the boy in front of them though. I don't know why Itachi did what he did, but I know one thing. Sasuke raised his head and all three of them saw the fire in his eyes. Not one of revenge, but of determination. But I know that something is being kept from me. I will become stronger, and I will find the truth. And when I see my brother, I'm going to look into his eyes and tell him that I know what really happened. Naruto smirked and nodded his head before an idea sparked in his mind. Hey Sasuke, do you want me to train you? Sasuke went wide-eyed at what Naruto asked him. Yori yipped in his lap, almost like he was encouraging him to accept. Sasuke looked at Naruto with a smirk on his face. Alright. Tell me what you want me to do. Naruto smiled at his decision and knew that this was going to be a really interesting time for the both of them. A week later. It had been a very interesting week for Sasuke ever since he and Naruto talked that day. True to his word, Naruto started training Sasuke before Kakashi tried to. And when Naruto said try to, he just meant doing the tree walking exercise. Naruto taught Sasuke that and chakra control in less than a day. Sasuke was a very fast learner, being able to control his chakra faster than Naruto thought. It was a crying shame that he hadn't activated his Sharingan yet. That would have made this all much simpler. Naruto was debating on whether to let Sasuke in on Kenjutsu yet. He had handed him a practice sword and was a little disappointed that this was Sasuke's weakest suite. He could keep running up trees and on water all the livelong day, but when it came to swinging a sword, he was very out of his depth. Naruto decided that maybe Sasuke should just take it slow with Kenjutsu for now. Sasuke was happy to oblige. Naruto even showed him what his natural affinities were through the chakra paper. He has a very strong affinity for lightning and a strong affinity for fire. Seeing as though both Emi had lightning and Yori had fire, Naruto started forming a plan in his head. One that Kyuubi may or may not agree all too much with. Forest area. Naruto had just finished training with Sasuke for the day in taijutsu similar to the wolf style. The style focused primarily on speed and was right up the Uchiha's alley. The training was rigorous for the raven-haired boy, so Naruto decided to let him rest with Yori while he and Emi went for a walk. So, Emi started at the blonde. What is the real reason you're training the boy, Naruto-kun? Not much got past Emi. She was as quick-witted as she was quick on the battlefield, and that was one of the main reasons Naruto enjoyed her company. Easy, Naruto said to her with a grin. I can see that his life was filled with sorrow much like mine. He has potential to become strong, and if he wishes to learn the truth to his brother, then I see no reason not to help him seek that truth. Emi sighed out and continued to follow her friend and summoner. Before she could say anything, she stopped and growled lowly. We are not alone, Naruto-kun. That hunter Nin is here, Emi said to Naruto, who started to limber himself up a bit. He rounded around a tree before seeing a girl collecting herbs and flowers in a basket. She was in a pink kimono that hugged her rather impressive and slim body. Naruto could tell that she was picking herbs for Zabuza and figured that she thought he wouldn't recognize her. Maybe that could work to his advantage. Emi-chan. Naruto started, getting her attention. Be nice. We're gonna be making a new friend. Emi looked at him with a raised brow as she saw his calculative smile. And I think I have a really good idea how to save her and Zabuza. The bridge. Team 7 had been on guard duty for Tazuna the whole week now. Surprisingly enough, Gato hadn't sent any of his goons after the old man or his family since Zabuza failed last week. Kakashi was getting suspicious of the whole thing as the blonde did point out that hunter Nin hadn't taken Zabuza's head like all hunters do. The whole thing really made the copycat ninja nervous as to what would happen next. The arrival of that blonde, Naruto, hadn't helped calm his nerves either. He knew he had heard that name before, a long time ago, but he couldn't fully remember for some reason. It was strange to him when he took his team out to do some chakra exercises only to find that the Uchiha had already mastered it. He could even do it with his eyes closed and backwards. Kakashi chalked it up to him being an Uchiha elite and taking on some training with, say, a certain council elder that was interested in him, but he was shockingly surprised when Sasuke had told him Naruto taught him. Even saying that Naruto taught him how to walk on water and showed him his elemental affinities. Kakashi was baffled by this news, as was Kiba, stating that only Sasuke got special training. The Inuzuka was seething and went to confront the blonde, but when he did, that dominant scent overwhelmed his senses and he winded up returning to Tsunami's house. Now, Team 7 was standing on the bridge with a mist surrounding them all. This was exactly like how it was when Zabuza first showed up. This mist was still very heavy with chakra like before, but for some reason, at least to Kakashi that is, something felt different. It didn't matter as he heard the sound of metal scrapping concrete. Protect the bridge, builder! Kakashi yelled out to his team as they huddled to Tazuna, kunais drawn. Out of the mist came Zabuza along with that hunter Nin from before. This just confirmed what Kakashi had suspected beforehand. Heh. Zabuza started as he raised his blade and placed it on his shoulder. It looks like I get to have that little rematch after all, Hataki. Kakashi gritted his teeth under his mask and prepared for a tough battle. It didn't take long for the two jounin to take the fight farther out to the bridge. While those two were going at it, Sasuke noticed that the hunter Nin had disappeared from view. He looked around for a bit, confusing his two teammates for a moment before he yelled out. Found you! He threw a shuriken and a kunai out into the mist where he saw the silhouette of the hunter Nin. It didn't surprise him when his projectiles were deflected, so now it was time for him to direct traffic with his team to ensure they all survive. Kiba, Sakura, stay with Tazuna. I'll deal with the hunter Nin. He left before he could hear the annoying protests of the Inuzuka and engaged the hunter Nin. Sasuke noticed that this hunter was skilled, and very proficient. He knew that this wouldn't end well if he didn't do something quickly. Going through a set of hand seals, Sasuke ended it and yelled. Katan, fireball jutsu! A fireball whirled out of his mouth and straight at the hunter. Hunter simply weaved through hand seals of his own and a wall of ice appeared out of nowhere. It took Sasuke's attack and cancelled it out. Sasuke grunted for a bit until he remembered Naruto's training. Wait for the right opportunity, Sasuke said to himself. Watch their movements and anticipate their attacks. It was the same as how the Sharingan worked, but required much more refined reflexes. Sasuke watched the hunter intently as he reached for several senbons. The hunter threw them with speed and precision, but fortunately for Sasuke, he was able to dodge them easily. The hunter was a little taken aback by this and decided to take this up a notch. Weaving through hand seals faster than Sasuke could keep up with, the hunter finished and yelled. Hayatan, crystal ice mirrors! Suddenly, Sasuke was surrounded by many mirrors made out of ice. The hunter stepped into one of them and became part of the mirror, much to the Uchiha's horror. Surrender or die. Sasuke tensed up at the possibility of dying now. He knew that this was probably a horrible idea, but Sasuke took a stance, ready to fight for his life. Tazuna's house. By this time, Gato's men had already broken into the house for both Tsunami and Inari. What they didn't expect was to see a very angry wolf standing in their way. The two men tensed up out of fear at first, but then decided to attack from different sides to take out the wolf. Unfortunately for them, they didn't anticipate that the wolf would start emitting nerve-wracking electricity all around itself. The two men were down for the count and Emmy went over to the two residences of the house with a note attached to her paw. Tsunami took the note before Emmy ran off out of the house and read it aloud. Dear Tsunami and Inari. Sorry if Emmy caused a mess, but at least you're both safe. I would be there, but right now I'm about to help Kakashi and his team deal with Gato's men. I would really appreciate it if you two could rally the people of Wave to stand up to Gato and show him that he doesn't run this country. The people do. Naruto. As Tsunami finished, Inari took a deep breath as he tried to hold back tears and ran upstairs. A second later, the boy came down with a crossbow and a quiver of arrows on his back. Let's go, Mom. He started, earning a proud smile from her. Let's go and free our country. Back with Sasuke. Sasuke wasn't faring too well against the hunter. He had been hit in several places by senbons, and having a hard time moving like before. He now stood his ground after standing up, barely, and saw the hunter sigh out. As you wish. You'll die where you stand. The hunter threw more senbons and Sasuke knew that this time, these were aimed for vital areas. Sasuke watched in fear for a brief moment as the senbons came rushing at him, but then something happened he couldn't explain. Everything slowed down. At first, Sasuke thought he was imagining things, but then he felt it. Or better yet, he could just see it, all of it. The movements, the air currents, the faint motions. That was when he knew. He finally unlocked the Sharingan. Sasuke dodged the senbons and went through the required hand seals. Katon Fireball Jutsu. He fired out a fireball directly at where the hunter was but wound up, not hitting his target properly. The hunter then tried to sneak attack the Uchiha, but was caught when Sasuke threw a kunai right at his face. The hunter dodged and quickly went back into the mirrors. The hunter knew this would take too long, so he went through a set of hand seals and suddenly many ice senbons appeared all around. Sasuke knew he couldn't dodge them all and looked for any way out. Unfortunately for him, there was none. He was about to prepare for another fireball, but was too late as the ice senbons and regular senbons came flying his way. Before they could hit though, the two heard a yell approach them. Katon Kenjutsu, Fiery Haze. There was suddenly the blonde standing near Sasuke with his flame blade aimed down. He stabbed the ground and a great heat washed over the area, melting the ice senbons and throwing off the regular ones. The mirrors began to melt as well, leaving the hunter to break away from it. Damn. That was all the hunter could say before being hit in the neck with a kunai, courtesy of Naruto Uzumaki. Sasuke went a little wide-eyed as the blonde who had been training him this past week had killed the hunter Nin with ease. He went to stand but found that his legs were giving out on him. Luckily for him, Emmy was there for him to use as support. He smiled at her before turning his attention to the smiling blonde. Thanks, Naruto-san. Naruto gave him a thumbs up. No problem, Sasuke-kun. And hey, I see you have your Sharingan now. Awesome. Sasuke smirked a bit before deactivating it. That was when they heard the final clash of metal in the distance. They turned to see Zabuza down on one knee and panting heavily, same with Kakashi. The two men were spent from what Naruto could tell. At that moment, they heard the growing claps of someone approaching from the other side of the bridge. Everyone turned to see Gato and over 200 or so thugs standing behind him. Well, well, well. The short man started with that cocky grin of his. It seemed I was truly wrong about you, Zabuza. Ninja are so unreliable these days. Stuck in their old ways of thinking. What are you doing? Zabuza started before being interrupted by the short man. You see, Zabuza. I was never going to pay you a single Rio. I would have preferred you two killing each other so my guys could finish the job here, but it seems we'll have to kill you all nonetheless. He stopped when he saw the hunter with a kunai in his neck and sighed. Such a shame. The men would have loved to have her for their own comfort. Zabuza saw red, but his body was so tired and weak from his fight with Kakashi that all he could do was sit there and seethe. Kakashi was no better either. He had put all his chakra into his Chidori while also having his Niken hold Zabuza down, but for some reason they all fled in fear a while ago, allowing Zabuza to block the attack with his blade. The funny thing about this was that his Niken vanished when Naruto showed up. Now then, Gato continued with a grin. Clean it up, boys. The thugs were about to rush over, but that was when Naruto made his move. He stood in front of all of them with Yori at his side. Naruto nodded to his fox companion, who nodded back, and went through several hand seals before raising his hand and slamming it down. Kuchios no Jutsu, Ultimate Fox Summons. There was a large plume of smoke that stopped everyone dead in their tracks. They stood there in fear of what this kid just did, as did the ninja that stood by. That was when they saw something unbelievable. The smoke cleared, showing a large fox at least 50 or so feet tall with 3 long tails behind it. The fox wouldn't be the only surprise though, as it was now on fire all over. Naruto stood behind the now-grown Yori and smirked as he panted in exhaustion. The thugs were about to run away, but the fox was too fast for them, shooting out a large fireball that caught dozens of them and turned them all to nothing but ash. The thugs were about to retreat, and that was when they saw their boss being held up by someone they didn't think would be standing, let alone completely unscathed. Zabuza Momochi. How? Kakashi asked to no one in particular, only for his answer to come as the Zabuza in front of him disappeared in a puff of red smoke. The red smoke left a human-shaped stain on the bridge and left Kakashi in utter shock. Without a moment's hesitation, Zabuza tossed Gato up and slashed the short man in half with ease. The thugs saw this and the look in Zabuza's eyes and saw that they only had 3 options. Fight Zabuza and be cut to ribbons, fight this giant fox and be burned alive, or hope that their guys have the woman and kid hostage. That answer came when an arrow came flying down in front of them all, and the people of Wave stood at the ready with a variety of tools to be used as weapons. Seeing no way out, the men jumped off the bridge and retreated far away from Wave country. The people of Wave cheered as the thugs fled, and it was revealed that Gato was indeed dead. With this victory, Kakashi fell on his back and attempted to rest for a bit, but that was when Zabuza appeared above him. Kakashi tensed for a moment before seeing that Zabuza simply crossed his arms. So, the great Kakashi of the Sharingan was taken to the limit by a clone. Sad really? Zabuza said with a smirk. Clone? Kakashi raised an eyebrow. I couldn't even tell. How did you? Blame the blonde-haired kid. Zabuza interrupted. He's very persuasive, and he can make clones so much like the original that even the great Sharingan can't tell the difference. Isn't that right, Haku? Suddenly, a girl wearing the same outfit as the hunter Nin, minus the mask, appeared next to Zabuza. Kakashi looked to the other hunter, and saw it do the same thing that happened to the Zabuza clone. Amazing, Kakashi said to himself. Well, kid. Zabuza started to Naruto as the fox changed back to normal. I guess a deal's a deal. So, where are we going? What? Kakashi asked, eyes wide. Naruto looked to the silver-haired man and grinned. I gave them my word that if they helped me in freeing Wave Country and killing Gato, that I could get them a residency in Konoha. They're gonna be Konoha shinobi when we get back. The news was too much for Kakashi, and he just promptly passed out. A few days later, as the group of ninja prepared to leave Wave Country and head back to Konoha, Kakashi was still rather adamant about the extra people tagging along. He didn't know what Naruto was or how he was able to do what he could do, and now he had more questions about the blonde and no answers in sight. How did he summon that massive fox? How did he have the chakra to do so? Just what did he use to make those perfect clones of Zabuza and his friend Haku? And just how exactly did he convince those two to help when they did? Well, at least he had an answer for that last question. Naruto told him that he talked to Haku beforehand and convinced her to bring him to see Zabuza. When he met the man, he brought them proof that Gato was going to betray them, and use Haku as a common whore via a recording he had Yori bring to him. The kid was very resourceful, even convincing them that instead of being missing Nin and always on the run, why not just work for Konohagakure, or more specifically, work for him. Zabuza saw that Naruto was leaps and bounds ahead of him, and Haku was truly thankful for his help in saving her master. That leads them to working for the blonde Enigma. Kakashi also learned that Sasuke got his Sharingan from the fight, and Naruto helped train him a bit in subtle ways after they left the bridge. Kiba was furious at the fact that the Uchiha had surpassed him again. He was going to confront Sasuke about this, but backed down rather obediently when Naruto told him to drop it. Sakura found her precious Sasuke-kun to be even cooler now that he had even cooler abilities. Girl really was strange in Naruto's opinion. It was very awkward times with Zabuza and Haku around Team 7. Set aside the fact that Zabuza tried to kill them all once, and you had mostly silence. Sakura did get the chance to talk to Haku for a bit, and find out some interesting things about her. Like how her bloodline works, her skills, her own sense of fashion and makeup, and that she does find Naruto somewhat attractive. Sakura was a little surprised to hear that and decided to press that discussion only for her to be cut off by Naruto himself. While Sakura was a little more than confused and walked away, she didn't get the chance to hear Naruto call Haku his Iceheim. Today was the day that Team 7+3 along with a wolf and a fox left Wave. It would take them a little while to reach Konoha at shinobi speed. The people of Wave had decided to name the bridge after the one who helped liberate them from Gato, but the funny thing was that no one really knew the blonde kid's name. So Inari decided to call it the Great Fox Bridge, much to the delight of the people. Naruto was feeling more than a little nervous as they neared Fire Country. It had been close to a decade since he last set foot in the village. How had the place changed? Was the old man still in charge? Would he even recognize him if he was still in power as Hokage? Hell, would anyone really recognize him was a better question. It didn't take them long to reach the gates of Konohagakure, and Naruto was starting to have horrible flashbacks of his childhood here. It still haunted him to his very core to think of this village, but at the same time, he knew that this would be different. That now, as he is, he wouldn't be treated like a demon by anyone ever again. Halt! One of the guards yelled as the group was approaching the gate. State your business. John and Kakashi Hatake and Team 7 returning from mission. Also accompanying us are two missing Nin and another child seeking an audience with the Hokage. Kakashi started then eat a bit when he was bit on the ankle by Yori. He got the message. And the fox and wolf are with the kid too. The two at the gate looked at one another before shaking their heads and letting the group through. It was only till Zabuza walked past them that they realized that that was the demon of the mist. The group walked along the streets of Konoha, and it was all coming back to the blonde. The sights of the buildings, the people running around, kids playing at the park with their families, civilians going about their lives. It was just like Naruto remembered it, just minus the mobs and numerous beatings he took. Other than that, yeah, pretty much the same as before. The people they were passing while on their way to the Hokage Tower were giving the three unknown people, along with the fox and wolf, cautious glances. Especially Zabuza, since he had his massive blade in plain view for everyone to see. There were murmurs about the man and it caught Naruto's attention. Sounds like you're getting popular already, Zabuza-san. Naruto teased, knowing that the man was just a little irritated by that. That was when the group were surrounded by various Umbu. Zabuza looked to be getting ready for a fight, as was Haku, but they stopped when they saw Naruto tell them to calm down. Even though the Umbu looked ready for a fight, the two decided to follow the blonde's advice and relaxed. Kakashi and his team looked on and were a little more than surprised to see that those two did as Naruto told them. Zabuza Momochi. One of the Umbu, a purple-haired woman wearing a cat mask, started as she drew her blade. What are you doing here? Naruto stepped up to the woman and answered with a smile. They're with me. The Hokage will know me, and he'll want to see me. And just who in the hell are you, brat? The woman demanded while still focusing on Zabuza. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto answered her with that same smile. If you tell that name to the old man, he'll know me. The woman sneered a bit but relented as she told the others to stand down. They still kept their guard up around the man though. The rest of the way to the tower was tense and silent. The Umbu kept a close eye on even the slightest movements that Zabuza or Haku made on the way. Once they were there, the purple-haired Umbu knocked on the door first. Enter. They heard the old and gruff voice of the Sandaime Hokage. Team 7 along with Zabuza and Haku stepped in. Naruto decided to go in last to really surprise the old man. From what Naruto could hear initially, was a gasp, the sound of swords being unsheathed and maybe one or two threats of death. That was when Naruto walked in with Yori and Emi. The sight he saw was, at least in his honest opinion, a little funny. Zabuza had 3 swords aimed at his neck, Haku had 2 ice saban aimed for 2 of the Umbu, and the old man was prepared to get involved. That was when Naruto started to chuckle loudly, getting everyone's attention. Wow, GG, I didn't think you were that spry for an old guy, Naruto said with a smile when he got himself under control. Hiruzen saw the blonde hair and gasped. There was no way that could be him. Then he saw the blue eyes and his own eyes went wide. Then came the whiskers and that all too familiar smile. That was when Hiruzen stood up and made his way over to the boy who went from only coming to his hip to now being at chest level with the old man. Naruto looked up to the old man and gave him a smile. Been a while, huh, Gigi? Naruto said to him as he was engulfed in a hug from the old man. It's you. Hiruzen said to him in a tone that bordered disbelief. You're finally back. An hour of explanation later. Hiruzen was all caught up with both what had happened with the wave mission and vaguely with what Naruto's been up to since he disappeared all those years ago. I say vaguely because Naruto kept out a lot of things to give himself the one very important trait of any ninja, deception. During Naruto's explanation on where he went and why he left, it was all coming back to Team 7. More so to Kakashi than the genin, but Sasuke was starting to remember that night somewhat. Kakashi remembered being assigned to track down a boy that had ran away, yet when he summoned his Niken, they said that the scent just gone and they disappeared out of fear. Why did that happen back then? Scratch that, how did it happen when he was facing that Zabuza clone? Hiruzen knew he would have to call for a council meeting for both Naruto's return and his request to offer asylum for both Zabuza and Haku. That was going to be held just waiting for him. There was no way that the council would agree with this. Especially if the Jinchuriki that they had spent years trying to weaken and beat into the ground had returned home willingly, and stronger than nearly all the genin. That would draw suspicions from the more senile members such as that Haruna woman, or especially the elders. He dismissed Team 7 and then proceeded to bring about the request for a council meeting. Time for the shout fest he knew that was on its way. With Sasuke. Sasuke had decided to head out to the park not far from the Hokage Tower. After he and his team were dismissed, Sakura had tried to ask him on a date, while Kiba wanted to fight him in a spar. Sasuke declined both and left his team. He now sat on a bench and waited patiently all the while getting used to the feel of his Sharingan eyes. It was strange at first, seeing everything like that, but after a bit of fiddling with it, he got used to them. As he sat there, he failed to notice that a very small and near unnoticeable snake was watching him in the bushes with great interest. Another few hours later. Sasuke was trying not to fall asleep on the bench. He had went through the chakra controls over a dozen times to pass the time, made a few small fireballs out of boredom, and even threw shurikens and kunais to pass the time. Eventually, he had decided to call it quits and head home since it was getting late. That was when he heard the door fling open and an angry woman with feral dog-like features walk out the building in rage. She looked a lot like Kiba. Maybe she was his mother, who knows? Another man with pale eyes and pale white yukata stepped out next. He looked somewhat similar to both Niji and Hinata from back in his academy years. He also looked very upset. Okay, wonder what happened in there. The next man to walk out was a big guy. Clearly an Akamichi. He looked like he was amused for some reason. Okay, now Sasuke really wanted to know just what the hell happened in there. The next one to walk out was Zabuza along with both Haku and a smiling Naruto. Sasuke ran up to the three, hoping to get some answers, and fast. Naruto-san. Sasuke started, getting the blonde's attention. Sasuke. Naruto started in slight surprise. Were you waiting here the entire time? That's some serious dedication, you know. Heh. Sasuke started as Yori jumped up into his arms. So, what happened in there? I saw two clan heads walk out in a fit of rage for some reason. Any reason for that? Zabuza started to chuckle under his breath while Haku simply smiled warmly and Naruto scratched the back of his head with a slightly nervous smile. Well, turns out, I'm the son of the Yondaime Hokage. During the council meeting flashback, Naruto stood in front of the stunned and shocked council members as they watched him in slight awe. None of them had expected to see the demon brat return, let alone be this strong and, above all else, alive. Back then, when the Umbu couldn't find him or track him down, some of the more bold civilians decided to hire Hunter Nin to find and kill the boy. When those Hunter Nin returned empty-handed over a year and a half later, the civilians had decided that the boy must have died. That didn't sit all too well with Danzo. He needed that boy to make his ultimate weapon and at the time sent his root Umbu out only to receive the same results. Now, here was the boy standing in front of them all with a big smile and not a care in the world asking for his two ninja friends for asylum. That could only mean one thing. Outrageous. Take this demon out of here. Hokage-sama, do you realize what this monster is asking us? I say we just execute him for leaving the village. One of the more vocal clan heads, a woman with dog-like features, shouted out. I agree. Another clan head, a Hyuga, shouted out in agreement along with many other civilians. You can't really be considering bringing the demon back into our home, Hokage-sama. A pink-haired civilian screamed out, causing both Yori and Emi to cringe as their sensitive ears reacted to her. Hiruzen cleaned the wax from his ears and answered with a burst of killer intent to shut everyone up. I'm not just considering it, Haruno. I'm allowing it. This got the intentional reaction of more shouts and threats from both sides. The only ones not involved were the three original members of Ino Shikacho, and the Aburame clan head. Hiruzen once again flared his ki and shut everyone up again. That was when one of the elders, the female one, noticed the smile on the blonde boy's face and seethed. And what exactly are you smiling about, demon? She hissed that last part with a bit of venom in her tone. Naruto just chuckled as he tried his hardest not to burst out in laughter. Is it kinda funny that I missed hearing all of you scream like a bunch of dummies? Naruto asked them with that same smile. Before anyone could rebuttal, Naruto continued. Now, before someone like Inuzuka-san pops a blood vessel, let me just inform all of you of something that I discovered during my travels. At the mention of her clan name, Tsum smelled the scent of an alpha and shut herself up. Hiruzen leaned forward in his chair in anticipation. He knew Naruto was hiding something when he explained himself earlier, now he could get some information. The council, aside from Ino Shikacho and the Aburame clan head, didn't look amused by the demon brat's interruption or whatever he would explain to them. They didn't care about his travels. All they cared about was how to get rid of him like last time, only this time ensuring that he dies. Danzo didn't care about what this boy's travels were either. He was just coming up with a plan to ensure he had his weapon, but the next words to come from Naruto would change everything forever. Naruto smiled again and started to explain. During my time outside of the village, I discovered many things about myself. This caught everyone's attention. 1. I'm actually a very good hunter. 2. I can match many of the great swordsmen and women in the elemental nations. 3. I didn't know easy it was to farm your own food before. By this time the council was getting annoyed by trivial things the demon was saying, yet Hiruzen just had a feeling that this was heading somewhere. Boy, was he in for a shock. And 4. I didn't know that the Yondaime sealed the Kyuubi no Kitsune inside of me until I left the village. This caught them all by surprise as they were about to go into another uproar about the demon influencing him. Hiruzen was partially like this, as he too thought the Kyuubi was influencing him, yet something wasn't right. Naruto seemed very calm and confident that this was going to go his way. Why? If he knows the Kyuubi was sealed inside of him, Then what else did he know and who told him this? Naruto continued before they could shout some more at him. Before any of you ask, or demand more, like, the one that told me this information is actually not that hard to think about. This confused them all as Naruto continued after a quick chuckle. Think about it. Who would willingly help me literally after I leave the village and tell me about the QB sealed inside of me? The council were drawing a blank as they were now thinking of multiple suspects now. Who could it have been? That was when Naruto decided to answer in spectacular fashion. Biting his thumb, he went through a certain string of hand seals that was familiar to the shinobi but foreign to the civilians. He raised his hand in the air and brought it down while speaking out. Kuchios no Jutsu, Kyubi no Yukai. A plume of smoke spread around where Naruto was and both Zabuza and Haku stepped back. They had no idea what Naruto was up to at all. The council looked on in confusion as the smoke started to swirl around, and only when they saw a large red tail that they realized what Naruto had said earlier. Suddenly, 8 other large tails appeared and swirled around to the ceiling. The council were up on their feet as the tails came back down and brushed the smoke away. There stood the demon itself, the Kyubi no Kitsune. Only something was different. It was smaller. The size of a horse actually, and standing on all fours next to Naruto. It stretched a bit, and yawned as it stood there with the boy in the center of the room, its 9 tails shrinking to normal-like size. It opened its red eyes and the council shuddered in fear, but those eyes held no malice or anger. The Kyubi just looked around the room, ignoring the fearful stares from everyone aside from his host, and huffed. So this is the council chambers, huh? He said in a voice that wasn't booming but rather casual-like. Kinda thought it would look a little more impressive. Guess it's downgraded since Hashirama-san and Tobirama-san. The mere mention of those names caused Hiruzen to raise an eyebrow to the demon fox. You knew the Shodame and Naidame Hokage? Kyubi looked to Hiruzen with a smirk and answered him. Of course I did, Hiruzen Sarutobi. I knew all the Hokages. Inoichi decided to ask an all-too-important question, all the while ignoring that bad smell from the civilian council. How exactly are you here? Did you manipulate Naruto-kun in any way? His voice may have had resolve, but his mind and body were shaking in terror right now. Kyubi looked straight towards Inoichi and gave him a toothy grin that sent shivers down the shinobi side's spines. Nope. I just talked to him and explained what I was and how I was sealed within him. Nothing more. Kyubi looked to Naruto, who nodded to him, almost like he was confirming something to the large fox. Another few things I told and showed Naruto-kun was his heritage. At the sound of that, Hiruzen paled as he looked straight towards Naruto, who was giving him a sly grin. The council was at a loss as they had no clue what the infamous Kyubi was talking about. That was when Some once again ran her mouth the wrong way. Impossible. This demonic pup is an orphan. He has no family. Kyubi looked straight at her and hardened his eyes for a moment, causing the woman to freeze in place. I suggest you watch who you're talking to, bitch. I wouldn't mind mounting that loud mouth of yours and taming you in the roughest of ways possible, so shut your mouth unless spoken to. Understood? Some shuddered and practically shrunk in her seat. The scent that was initially coming off the boy was not even in the Kyubi's league. Now then. Hiruzen-san, you know exactly what I mean. So why don't you stop being a coward to tell them? Tell them all just who the boy's parents are, and then accept what we offer. All eyes were on Hiruzen, who just sighed. It was times like this that just made him feel too old for this shit. What the Kyubi says is true. Naruto-kun does indeed have a heritage and an inheritance that he seems to want now. And what heritage is that, Hokage-sama? Hayashi practically demanded. Simple, Hayashi-san. Hiruzen sighed deeply before answering. Naruto Uzumaki's parents were Kushina Uzumaki and the Yandame himself, Minato Namikaze. The words struck through everyone in a multitude of different ways. Some a little less than others. The Ino Shikacho were stunned to know that Naruto was Minato's son. The similarities were right there, they just hadn't bothered to look at them out of grief. They were old friends of Minato, and would have gladly adopted Naruto into either of their families if they knew the truth. Some went wide-eyed at this. She was a close friend to Kushina back in their academy days. Sim had made a promise to the woman that whenever she decides to have a pup of her own, that she would be there for him, or her. To know now that the demon brat that her clan used to torture and hunt down to hurt all those years ago was Kushina's son. She felt like Kushina was ready to come back from Kami's embrace just to beat the hell out of her for hurting her son. Hayashi couldn't believe it. Naruto was the son of the Yandame? Impossible. When the elders hear of this, who knew what would happen to the clan? A thought occurred to him that just might quell the elders though. Shibi Abirame simply sat there, indifferent. Yes, he was shocked, but he didn't let it show since he didn't really know the fourth or his wife all too well. The civilian side along with the elders were in absolute disbelief. This is the worst news that they could have heard. The civilians, because now they couldn't get rid of the last Uzumaki and Namikaze, it would make their village look horrible to the other villages. Danzo knew that his plans were completely done. Not only has Naruto revealed that he has the ability to summon the Kyuubi no Kitsune at will, but now he has a heritage of being the Yandame's son. He would need a new plan. One that would heavily involve that snake even more so than before. So, Naruto started with that same smile on his face once more. Seeing as though I have that heritage, I would like to have the Namikaze estate, and all assets of both my parents transferred to me. I would also like for both Zabuza Momochi and Haku under the protection of the Namikaze name, and for them to have citizenship within Konoha. Naruto watched the civilian side cringe at hearing these demands and chuckled under his breath. He then looked to the shinobi side, more specifically to Tsum, and thought to himself that it was time for a little payback. And I would like a fine to be paid to me by the following clans that attacked me as a child: the Inuzuka, Hyuga, and Akamichi clans. At hearing this, Hayashi jumped to his feet in rage. You dare accuse my clan of attacking you, demon? He received a sly grin from both Naruto and Kyuubi and seethed. I will not agree to pay a single ryo to you. Oh no. Money isn't the fine for you, Hyuga. Naruto smirked as he saw the confused faces of the three clan heads in question. The Akamichi clan once tried to poison me back then, so what I want from them is a simple apology for caving to threats from outside forces that won't be named. Choza stood up immediately and said to Naruto, You have my word that you'll receive more than just that, Naruto-kun. From all three of us. Naruto raised a brow as Inoichi and Shikaku stood up as well. The three of us knew your father from back then, and we all want to deeply apologize for not knowing this news sooner. The three men bowed and Kyuubi nodded to Naruto to confirm that they were being completely genuine and sincere. Naruto nodded and accepted the apology, but then he turned to Hayashi and that smirk appeared once again. From you and the Hyuga clan, I wish to take one member of your main family for when I know the civilian council will enact the CRA on me. Naruto saw the pale eyes of the man widen as his plans went through a snag now. The elders would probably try and get a certain Hyuga to follow through with this and marry the brat when the CRA hits him. That would at least grant them more power in the village. The brat just made a grave mistake according to Hayashi's thoughts, but those thoughts were quickly shattered at Naruto's next words. I remember there was this one girl from your clan who was genuinely nice to me. If memory serves me right, I think her name was Hinata. I'll have her from your clan, Hayashi. Hayashi seethed as he knew there was no way that his daughter, with her foolish ideas of uniting both main and branch families, would ever agree to anything the elders would tell her. Oh well, guess that meant he would have to brand her with the caged bird seal. That thought had him now looking face to face with a rather annoyed-looking Kyuubi. You place that seal on her, and I'll ensure that your clan knows the true meaning of fear. Hayashi tried to keep his composure, but wound up shaking and nodding hesitantly instead. Naruto chuckled and then turned his attention to Tsum. The woman shuddered at that sly smirk on his face and trembled even harder when she saw Kyuubi looking right at her, daring her to speak out again. And from you, Tsum Inuzuka. Naruto started at her, enjoying the once terrifying woman that gave so many orders to her dogs and clans to attack him, shake at the sound of his voice. I want 3 Niken directly from your kennel. Tsum went wide-eyed and couldn't form coherent sentences or words. This pup, one with a dominating scent and a clear alpha presence, had basically ordered her to give him 3 of their own precious Niken. What could she do? She couldn't just ignore or reject him for fear of what the Kyuubi would do. She couldn't deny him anymore because of her guilty conscience anymore at realizing that this boy was Kushina's pup. All she could do was nod her head slowly and accept these terms, though she would have a lot to answer for in the future. She knew that much for sure. End flashback. Sasuke stood there, jaw dropped at what he just heard. Not only is Naruto the son of the Yondaime, and had just basically demanded his birthright among other things, he was also like him in a sense. The last of a clan. Now Sasuke felt as if he really wasn't alone. That's when everything else just clicked in his head. Naruto had the Kyuubi no Kitsune sealed within him? That explains a lot really, like how he's so strong and sometimes seen talking to both Emi and Yori. Alright then. Naruto started, breaking Sasuke out of his stupor. I'm heading towards the Inuzuka compound to get those 3 Niken. You wanna come with Sasuke? I would, but I should get home since it's so late. Sasuke answered him while scratching the back of his head. It's cool, Naruto said to him with a smile. Since you just got back from the wave mission, how about this? Come by the Namikaze estate at around 7 in the morning. I have just the right method to teach you Kenjutsu now that you have your Sharingan. Sasuke gave him a smirk and nodded before heading out, excited for training for the first time in years. The next day, Sasuke had a pretty damn good sleep for once since the massacre, and it was mainly from anticipation. The anticipation of training with Naruto and becoming stronger in the process. He had no idea just what kind of training Naruto was going to use, but one thing was for sure, he knew that he would learn so much more from the blonde than his actual sensei. That was for a fact. Getting up from his bed at 6:30 in the morning, Sasuke prepared for the day as best as he could. He showered, got dressed, and grabbed his supplies. He knew that this would be difficult no matter what, but at least he would learn new things he wouldn't before. That little mask of being a loner was gone now, and Sasuke fully embraced his new self. He looked at himself in the mirror and activated his Sharingan. He smirked and nodded his head before deactivating it and heading out to the newly opened Namikaze estate. 10 minutes later, Namikaze Gate. Sasuke made it to the Namikaze estate with no problems at all, but he did feel as if someone was watching him. He pushed those thoughts out of his mind and went to the large metal gate that had a white piece of paper marked seal on it. He went to it and was about to knock before Yori leapt at him from a tree and landed in his arms. He snuggled up to Sasuke and the teen in turn petted the adorable fox. The seal on the gate disappeared and the gate opened for Sasuke, expecting him it seems. He walked in and was in a large courtyard that he couldn't see before when he was outside the gate. The gate closed and the seal was placed back on, much to the anger of a few following eyes, and Sasuke saw that the courtyard was filled with many lush bushes filled with flowers of many types and colors. The trees around the estate made for very little sunlight to enter into the area, but the bits and pieces that did showed such beauty all around. Sasuke saw the large, and I do mean large, estate that was in the center of a makeshift lake. The lake wasn't large but big enough to have the estate on it. The water was crystal clear and reflected the small patches of sunlight that passed by the trees. The building was a large, mostly white building with an orange roof and windows all around. Sasuke was in awe of what he was seeing and wanted to get an even closer look, only problem being that there was no bridge or boat across the lake. How the hell am I supposed to, was all Sasuke could let out when he heard rustling behind him. He turned around and saw Emi coming towards him. Emi? Emi went to him and he petted her for a bit, much to her amusement, and then she parted from his hand. She looked to the estate and channeled chakra into her paws, as did Yori. Sasuke saw this and wondered just what they were doing. It was at that moment that he had an idea and activated his Sharingan. He saw what they were doing and watched them leap onto the water only to stand on it perfectly. They both looked at Sasuke, expecting him to follow, and Sasuke decided to imitate them. He took a deep breath as he channeled his chakra to his feet like the tree walking Naruto taught him back and wave and took a step. To his surprise, he didn't instantly sink down. He took another step, then another one and another until he was standing next to Emi and an excited Yori. The two ran towards the estate followed by the Uchiha, and they made it to through the short run. They now stood in front of a large door that opened to show Naruto standing there with a small black dog with red eyes within his arms. He was wearing a white shirt and some black shorts and looked very relaxed. He saw Sasuke with Emi and Yori and smiled. "Hey Sasuke. Happy to see you learn faster with your Sharingan. Come on in," Naruto said as he let the three in. Sasuke removed his shoes and looked around the large room. Marble walls, a staircase leading to the second floor, tiled floors, nice carpets, and even had a large picture on the wall showing the fourth and a woman with red hair. Sasuke assumed that that must have been Kushina Uzumaki, Naruto's mother. She was beautiful, and the sight of her smile made Sasuke smile as well. "Yo, Sasuke!" Naruto yelled out from all the way across a hall leading to the back. This broke Sasuke out of his wondering eyes as he looked over to Naruto. "Come on, I've got someone I want you to meet." Sasuke nodded and quickly ran over to follow Naruto. He now stood in a large training grounds in the backyard. He looked around before seeing Naruto set the small black dog down next to two other dogs. One was white with blacked-out eyes and wolfish features, and the last was golden with light blue eyes. That last one reminded Sasuke of Naruto in dog form. Speaking of Naruto, he walked over to Sasuke and motioned for him to sit down. Sasuke obliged and waited for what Naruto was going to say or do. "Okay, Sasuke." Naruto started as he also sat down in front of Sasuke. They were quickly joined by the three dogs, who were around Naruto, Emi and Yori, who was in Sasuke's lap rather comfortably. "Me and one other person debated long and hard about this all night, and we have come to a decision that'll help you out in the long run. But just fair warning, Sasuke." Naruto started to get serious, surprising Sasuke and causing the dogs to shudder a bit. "Under no circumstances are you to reveal how you obtained what we're about to give you. Understood?" Sasuke was taken aback completely by this sudden change in Naruto's tone. He went from happy-go-lucky to very serious in a mere instant, and that caused him to swallow the lump in his throat before answering with some resolve in his voice. "I understand, Naruto-sensei." Naruto raised an eyebrow at the added sensei part to his name, but decided to go with it and smirked. "Alright then. Guys." Naruto talked to the canines around him. "Go sit next to Sasuke while I bring him out, okay?" The dogs barked up to him in a gesture Sasuke assumed meant okay, and they sat around him. Naruto stood up and walked a little ways away from them all before stopping and turning around. He bit his thumb and went through several hand seals too fast for anyone to see, then raised his hand into the air. Before he slammed it down, he yelled out so they all could hear. Kuchios no Jutsu, Kyubi no Yukai. A large puff of smoke later, and Sasuke looked down in both awe and amazement at the large fox the size of a rather large dog with 9 tails moving around behind it. The Kyubi no Kitsune stretched a few times before looking over to the stunned Sasuke and his bowing descendants. Naruto was right next to him, and the two exchanged a look before nodding and going over to the raven-haired teen. So, Kyubi spoke as he sat directly next to Naruto and watched Sasuke like a hawk. Naruto tells me that you wish to become stronger. To seek your brother out and discover the truth to what really happened to your clan. Is that right, Sasuke, or is my hearing just off? Sasuke tried and failed to not shake with a slight fear towards the Kyubi. But a quick and deep breath later and a reassuring smile from both Naruto and Yori, and Sasuke found his voice once again. Yes. That's exactly right, Kyubi-san. Sasuke continued when he saw Kyubi nodded for him to do so. My brother may have been a lot of things and done many things he's not too proud of, but in the end he is still my brother. My family, and I know he along with everyone in the village expects me to seek revenge and lust after power, but the only thing I want is the truth. I want to know what really happened and bring whoever is responsible to justice, and after that, I just wish to move on with my life. Kyubi was more than a little surprised by Sasuke's answer. Naruto had a big smile and was nodding in a proud motion. Emi simply smiled at him while the dogs and Yori snuggled up to him, wanting him to pet them. Kyubi chuckled a bit under his breath, getting everyone's attention. He then burst into laughter, surprising everyone except for Naruto. Sasuke had no idea what was so funny, but decided to wait for his answer. It didn't take long as Kyubi eventually stopped to look at the confused teen and descendants of his. It really has been too long since I've met an Uchiha like you, Sasuke. Sasuke perked up at hearing this, but held his tongue for now. You know, I was there all those years ago when Madara Uchiha was defeated by Hashirama Senju. He was an Uchiha that acquired his power through very brutal and senseless methods, trying to attain his own twisted version of peace. Humph, Kyubi huffed before continuing. Most Uchiha seek power to conquer and triumph over their foes, and one of those ways is by attaining the Mangekyo Sharingan. Sasuke raised a brow. I've never heard of the Mangekyo Sharingan before. What is it? An advanced Sharingan that allows its user to see the truth of all creation without obstruction. Kyubi answered. Throughout the Uchiha history it is said that killing your best friend is what activates it. To that end, many of the Uchiha clan have killed their closest friend to obtain power, but the Uchiha clan misinterpret this. What do you mean misinterpret, Q-san? Naruto asked the fox demon. You obtain the Mangekyo by witnessing the death of the one closest to you, not killing them. Those words rang out to Sasuke all too well. Then he remembered something from the night of the massacre. Does the Mangekyo have a pinwheel type of look to it? Kyubi looked right at Sasuke and nodded. Itachi had those same eyes the night of the massacre. Then that means he killed his best friend to do so, Naruto said, realization hitting him as he saw Sasuke's face fall. That means he wanted the power beforehand. I'm sorry about that, Sasuke. Sasuke took another deep breath and looked back at the Kyubi and Naruto with resolve and determination in his eyes. This surprised the both of them as they heard Sasuke's next words. I will never allow myself to be seduced by that power. I will become stronger the right way, and I will confront my brother to know the truth. I don't know much about Madara or my clan's past, but I swear from this day forward, I will do everything in my power to change its future. Both Naruto and Kyubi went wide-eyed and decided that now was a very good time to do this. Kyubi stood up and both of his tails came towards the confused Uchiha. Then this will be an easy decision to make then, Kyubi said as a contract appeared from the tips of his tails. This is the same contract that I gave Naruto when he first left the village all those years ago. He is the only one who possesses this demon contract, Sasuke. It allows him to do things that no one else can do, and I want you to sign it. Sasuke looked at the contract, only seeing Naruto's name in blood, and looked to the blonde. Naruto nodded at him and smiled. That was all the confirmation that he needed as he took the contract. What do I need to do? Sasuke asked them both. His answer came when Naruto took his hand and slit his thumb. Sign your name on it and relax, cause we don't know what'll happen afterwards, Naruto said to him, a little fearful at the unknowns that were present. Sasuke caught that and took a deep breath. He didn't know what might happen, but he knew one thing for a fact: he trusted Naruto and Kyubi. He would need all the help he could get when he brings about change for his clan. He signed the contract and gave it back to Kyubi. The demon fox took it into his tail, and they all waited for anything to happen. Suffice to say, nothing. Nothing was happening to the Uchiha at all, and that was worrying the two a bit. Sasuke felt nothing at first, and thought that maybe he did something wrong. That all changed when he felt a sharp pain in his eyes and throughout the rest of his body. Naruto told the canines to get behind him and Kyubi as Sasuke started to fall back. He placed his hands onto his eyes and screamed in pain as they started to bleed through his fingers. It was a gruesome sight for the dogs, but the rest just sat there at the ready in case something went horribly wrong. Sasuke began to thrash around as his blue chakra started to leak from his body. There was something else in it that caught Kyuubi and Naruto's attention. There was black flame within his chakra. As they watched, they saw that black flame spread throughout Sasuke's chakra and turn it completely black with blue flames coming off of it. There was an explosion of both a black fire and blue lighting shooting up into the air before Sasuke stopped thrashing and passed out. Naruto and Kyuubi told the rest to stay put as they saw both Zabuza and Haku show up, ready for a fight. Naruto went over to the downed teen and checked his neck, relieved that there was indeed a pulse. "That's a relief," he said before Sasuke opened his eyes suddenly. Naruto and Kyuubi went wide-eyed at the sight and backed away slightly when Sasuke sat up. Sasuke noticed this and raised an eyebrow before rubbing the blood from his face. "What just happened? Is he okay?" came an unfamiliar voice to Sasuke, one that sounded like a little boy. "I hope so." Another voice, a little girl, spoke up as well. Sasuke looked behind Naruto and the Kyuubi only to see Emi, Yori, and those 3 dogs sitting there. "Why is he looking right at us like that?" the golden dog asked Emi in that first voice from before. "Because now he can understand all of us." Emi answered him with a smile that caused the 3 pups to look to Sasuke with wonder in their eyes. "I can hear them talking." Sasuke started with wide eyes. Naruto smirked and motioned for them all to come over towards him. They obliged and stood next to them all. "Well, I guess that means it worked. Though those eyes of yours freaked the 2 of us out a bit. Sorry about that." "What's wrong with my eyes?" Sasuke asked him. Naruto gave him a kunai, and he held it up to see for himself. What Sasuke saw shocked him. His eyes had changed completely now. His entire eye was blacked out with only his pupils having a crimson hue to them. His irises were circled by a rotating black flame with some kind of black flower symbol in the center of it. "Whoa," Sasuke said to himself as he looked at both his eyes and saw they were indeed the same. "What is this?" Kyuubi started as he looked into Sasuke's eyes closely. "It looks like a mixture of the Sharingan and the demonic energy that now resides inside of you. The contract does grant you demonic energy, but maybe since I'm inside of Naruto regulating that energy constantly while you don't possess a demon could be the cause for this." He motioned to the new eyes Sasuke had. "By my experience, I've never seen nor have I ever heard of a Sharingan like this. It seems, Sasuke, that you have a new Dijutsu." The very thought of this, coupled with the fact that that whole ordeal was incredibly painful, caused Sasuke's mind to do the one thing it could in this situation. Pass out. An hour later, Sasuke finally woke up to the sound of multiple voices talking at once. Some were familiar like Naruto's, Zabuza, and Haku's voices. Others weren't too familiar like Emi and those pups. He opened his still transformed eyes to see the happy smile of Yori right in front of him. "Sasuke's awake!" the fox yelled out to the others as he started licking Sasuke's face cheerfully. Sasuke stirred awake and sat up with Yori snuggled into his chest. Naruto, Zabuza, Haku, Emi, and the other pups went over to him. Sasuke was still a little dazed and confused at what just happened, but after hearing Naruto's explanation, he nodded. "Also," Naruto continued. He crouched down to him, holding a small mirror to the teen. "It looks like those eyes of yours are kinda permanent." Sasuke looked onto himself in the small mirror and went wide-eyed. His eyes were the exact same as before, down to the last detail from before. "So, any idea what these eyes can do?" he asked as he looked up to Naruto. Only when he did see him, he could see other things around Naruto as well. Sasuke saw yellow cracks of lightning shooting around him, red kindles flames circling him, dark earth at his feet, clear blue water at his heels, and a green wisps of wind all around him like a barrier. Sasuke could also see Kyuubi within the blonde watching him intently. Sasuke looked towards Zabuza and Haku and could see the same water at their heels as well, though Haku also had that wind as well. She also had ice forming in the shapes of crystals floating around her. Sasuke then looked at the canines around him and saw that they all had one element around them like the humans in the room. Yori had the wisps of fire around him along with 2 balls of flame floating behind his tail. 2 of the 3 pups were covered in a barrier of wind with a ball of air above their heads. Both Emi and the white-haired pup each had lightning crackling around them, only Emi's was yellow while the pup's was a vibrant blue. "Whoa," Sasuke said, a little startled, as he continued to look at everyone in the room with those wide eyes. "What's up, kid?" Zabuza started in a bit of an irritated tone. "You seem a bit disturbed, Sasuke-kun," Haku said in a worried tone. "Yes, Sasuke. Tell us what you see," Naruto said to him with a smirk, curious as to what these new Sharingan eyes can see now. "I see elements all around everyone here," Sasuke started as he looked to Yori then to Naruto. They all went wide-eyed at what he just said, but Sasuke continued. "Naruto-sensei, I can see QB inside of you watching as well. Cool. Yori said in an excited yip on Sasuke's lap. Heh. Sasuke chuckled as he pet the fox soothingly. Thanks, Yori. So I take it that the demon contract worked perfectly then, Q-san? Naruto asked the demon fox inside of him. Looks like. QB started. It also looks like his own Dijutsu has been modified with the contract itself, and thus giving him a Sharingan that can see things a standard or even advanced Sharingan could not see. Impressive. Naruto was about to relay the same message to Sasuke, but the Uchiha interrupted him. I heard him, Sasuke said, shocking the blonde and confusing the others. You can hear him, Sasuke? Naruto received a nod from the Uchiha in response and grinned. Great. That'll make training a whole lot simpler. He turned to the others with that same grin. Alright guys, we're gonna spend all day training Sasuke to use his new Sharingan eyes properly. Since he has control of his chakra, we'll need to focus on helping him use his new eyes effectively both in battle and in intelligence gathering. Zabuza-san, you'll help me teach him Kenjutsu both in your style and later on in mine. Alright kid. Zabuza nodded, impressed by Naruto's leadership skills. Haku-chan, you'll help train him in precision accuracy and medical techniques. Naruto continued to his Aisheim. She smiled and nodded to him. As this was going on, Sasuke was still trying to adjust to his new eyes and sight. It wasn't really freaking him out or causing him to panic, it's just that he had no control of the range. He had tried to pump less chakra into them and somehow wound up seeing other chakra signatures far away from the compound. Most likely in the village. He pumped more chakra and saw multiple signatures everywhere. And when I say everywhere, I mean everywhere. There was chakra signatures all around him that he couldn't even see the people and canines in the room with him. He stopped trying to deactivate it like he would his regular Sharingan, and everything was back to the way it was before. He would have to figure out a way to control this or at the very least lessen its effect on his sight. Concealing it was gonna be impossible if anyone saw this. The council would be all over him, and that would get in the way of his training. Not to mention that if word got out that it was the newly returning demon of Konoha, then it would have serious backlash for his blonde teacher. The weirdest thing so far though was definitely the fact that now he could understand the canines in the room perfectly. It was strange to him to hear them talking so casually, like nothing was wrong at all. Okay then Sasuke. Naruto broke him out of his thoughts as he offered a hand. Let's start your training, and trust me, by the end of today, you'll be walking out of this compound almost a completely different ninja. I guarantee it. Sasuke smirked and nodded as he took Naruto's hand to begin his brand new training. Outside the compound, a certain, pale-skinned ninja was watching the last Uchiha since he left his compound earlier that day. He wore a black ninja top that was cut off around his midsection, and umbu cargo pants along with standard ninja sandals. He was ordered earlier today by Danzo to watch for any strange behavior from the Uchiha all day. The pale ninja never asked questions as he knew that Danzo-sama was truly wise and wanted Konoha's best interests unlike the current Hokage, so he followed his orders with no hesitation. He followed Sasuke all the way from the Uchiha district to the Namake's estate. The pale ninja had never been to this part of the village before or even knew what was beyond the gate thanks to the powerful seal on it, but he knew that the demon resided there, claiming to be the Yandame's son. The pale ninja thought that this was a preposterous idea until Danzo told him it was true. This would push Danzo-sama's plans back now, but he needed the Uchiha to be unchanged by the blonde. The pale ninja watched as a fox leapt into Sasuke's arms and the seal on the gate disappeared. The gate opened to reveal for a brief moment Namake's estate, and it was spectacular in the pale ninja's eyes. But as quickly as he saw the estate, as quickly as it disappeared. The ninja looked down and saw that Sasuke had went inside and simply vanished. The seal on the gate was restored and all life inside of it was completely blocked from the outside world. The pale ninja huffed at how he was distracted before deciding to return to Danzo. The pale ninja returned to his master not too long after the Uchiha entered the estate, and was now kneeling to a seated Danzo. Danzo-sama, I've come to report on the Uchiha. Danzo looked to the ninja and stopped whatever he was doing. Sigh. I told you to watch the Uchiha all day and report only anything he does that is truly out of character for him. I had better hear something worth my time and nothing minor or boring. Sai bowed his head and answered. Hi, Danzo-sama. I followed the Uchiha until he entered into the Namake's estate. Danzo perked up at that last part and continued to listen. When he did, I could no longer do anything to track him because of the powerful barrier around the area. I apologize for losing him, Danzo-sama. Damn. Danzo started, clenching his cane harder till his knuckles were white. This surprised Sai as he has never seen Danzo angry before. That damn demon brat. Ruins my plans by leaving all those years ago, and now he ruins my plans I currently hold? Damn it! He broke his cane with some chakra to his hand. Sai. Watch Sasuke Uchiha very carefully. I want to know everything that boy does that is completely different from how his psyche profile describes him. I want you to find a seal master to infiltrate the Namake's estate whenever Sasuke goes there and continue to monitor him, and I want you to keep an eye out for anyone suspicious come the Chunin exams. Understood? Hi, Danzo-sama. Sai answered with a bow before leaving the seething old man in his room. That brat will cause me too much problems now. Danzo started as he rested his head on his one good arm. He undid the folds on his robe and pulled out his right arm to reveal a grotesque appendage with several Sharingan eyes embedded into it. Danzo looked at his arm and sighed. I'll need to reschedule Orochimaru's visit just a bit now. A few weeks later. It had been a few weeks now and Sasuke had learned so much from Naruto and Kyuubi. He learned that his new Sharingan eyes were more or less like the Mangekyo Sharingan on steroids. It could do a whole list of things from basic to advanced genjutsus, lightning storms, flames that can burn though anything, seeing the affinities of any ninja nearby, detecting traps with ease, deactivating enemy genjutsus, showing movements of enemies before they even move. Copy both ninjutsu and kenjutsu with ease, making training a breeze, and even cut off Naruto's connection with Kyuubi. That last part was absolutely terrifying to Naruto as he couldn't communicate with Kyusan for an entire week, or use the fox demon's chakra. That was a very odd week for the blonde. Sasuke also mastered summoning in less than a week. Now he could summon either Yori for his Katan jutsus or the white pup that Naruto gave to him for his right jutsus. Sasuke took a very quick liking to his white-haired wolf companion and took to calling him Yuki because his white fur reminded the Uchiha of snow. Yuki was very happy to have a master like Sasuke. Since his new eyes were indeed permanent, with even chakra depletion not even getting rid of them, Sasuke constantly had a genjutsu to make his eyes appear normal. Fortunately, the ability to see other ninjas' affinities was still there. Kakashi and Hiruzen were getting suspicious of the two though, and that wasn't all too good for either of them. Kakashi because he was trying very hard to train Sasuke to use the Sharingan properly, and thought him spending his time training with Naruto was a waste. He assumed that because of the way Sasuke kept trying to wield the sword whenever the two were training outside of the estate. Unbeknown to him though was the fact that Sasuke was actually on par with Zabuza in the man's own style, and nearly at the same level as Naruto in the blonde's style. Hiruzen was a problem because he would try and get Naruto to reveal more of what he was doing in the estate. Since the Namake's estate was completely invisible to the outside world no matter what, it was impossible for the third Hokage to know what was going on in there. Danzo had been a very angered man, same with most of the council. The elders wanted the demon brat gone now more than ever after that little display he did of bringing the Kyuubi no Kitsune in their village. The civilians saw him as an influence on the last Uchiha, and a bad one at that. They wanted action against the demon, and they wanted it to be all the top shinobis to deal with it. Thanks to both the Hokage and the Shinobi Council, that action was quickly deterred. Danzo had found out that Sasuke had been going to the Namake's estate rather frequently. He would still train with his team, but the old war hawk knew something wasn't right. The teen's psyche profile had no mention of him being a team player now or of being generous to others. Sasuke was clearly hiding something during his time with the demon. What it was, Danzo had no idea, and the hunt for a seal master proved useless since the seal on the estate is a blood seal that only a select few could enter. Right now, Naruto was walking along the streets of Konoha with Haku looking for some groceries and ingredients for when Hinata showed up to the estate. Ever since the meeting and whenever he had any off time when not training Sasuke, Naruto would venture to the Hyuga compound and spend time with the Hyuga heiress. They got to know each other well, much to Haishi's anger and disappointment in his daughter's weakness. Tonight would be the night he would invite her over to the estate for dinner with him and Haku. Surprisingly enough, Hinata was ecstatic to be later on wed to Naruto even if she had to share with Haku. Those two hit it off just fine too and became good friends whenever Naruto brought Haku over to see Hinata. As they walked, Naruto knew that he and Haku were getting glares from everyone around them. He didn't really care for that as long as they didn't bother to attack them. Everywhere they went was plagued with villagers who wanted nothing to do with the demon or his, and this is their words, demon whore. That phrase was quickly stopped though not by Naruto but by Haku herself using her Hayatan to scare many of them. So Iceheim. Naruto started to her, as they left another market with fresh produce. Even if the owners overcharged them, it's not like Naruto couldn't pay it with his new position as head of the Namake's clan. What do you think Hinata is gonna like tonight? Haku placed a finger on her chin as she thought of that for a moment. She soon snapped her fingers in an almost Eureka-like way. Cinnamon buns and curry. That's what she told me she likes one time. Cool. Then that's what we'll make for her, Naruto said to her with a happy smile. Now let's go and get some nice herbal tea. I hear that store is pretty. He was cut off when he saw the weirdest thing behind Haku and down a street. A little boy he had seen in the Hokage's office a few times running away from a teen in a cat suit for some reason. With a sigh and handing Haku the scroll that he stored all their ingredients into, he went after the boy and the teen. Get back here, you brat! The teen in the cat suit shouted out as he finally caught the boy. Got ya. And in a fraction of a second, the boy was gone and replaced with a cardboard box. What the? You know, it's not very nice to chase a kid around like that in what you're wearing, Mr. Catsuit Man, Naruto said from behind the other teen. That teen turned quickly and leapt back when he saw the smiling blonde with the boy right next to him. So, who exactly are you supposed to be? You're clearly from Suna judging by your headband. The teen was about to retort when another teen, around his age, made her way towards them. Damn it, Kankuro! The blonde girl yelled out. Any particular reason you just decided to run around like a damn idiot? She stopped almost instantly when she saw Naruto standing there in front of her brother. Naruto simply smiled at her and waved, causing her to look away for a moment. Okay then, I see two Sunanin here both around my own age, so that must mean that the Chunin Exams are taking place here in Konoha. Naruto started in a cheery tone. So where's your third teammate? That's none of your concern, kid. Kankuro sneered out, only to be smacked in the back of the head by the girl. What the hell, Temari? We're guests in this village and you're being an ass right now. Deal with it. Temari finished as she looked at Naruto and continued. Anyway, yes. We are here for the Chunin Exams this year. As for our third teammate, I can speak for myself, Temari. A new and very stoic voice rang out, causing the two newcomers to freeze in what looked like fear. Naruto looked up to a tree and saw a boy with red hair and a large gourd on his back hanging upside down on a tree branch. He looked off to the blonde, yet something felt familiar as well. Like there was something about this guy that Naruto felt slightly drawn to. The redhead was staring at Naruto, hard. A little too hard if we're being honest. He disappeared in a swirl of sand and reappeared in front of the two Sannin. They were surprised and tense. The little boy hid behind Naruto. Naruto cocked his head to the side and continued to look at the redhead unfazed. Naruto. Kyubi spoke up to the blonde boy. What's up, Q-san? Naruto answered him in his mind. This boy is like you. He has one of the nine-tailed beasts inside of him. My brother Shikaku. The Ichibi Tanuki. Kyubi finished with a stifled chuckle. Huh. Naruto started, looking right at the boy who had a look that straight up said I want to kill you right now. So you're just like me. This caught the redhead's attention. You're alone, hurt, treated like a demon because you posse's one inside of you. This caught the redhead by surprise completely. What do you know about me? He nearly growled out. Because. Naruto lifted his shirt to show him the seal on his stomach, shocking them all. I'm just like you. A Jinchuriki. The redhead went wide-eyed and looked the blonde right in his sky-blue eyes. He couldn't believe it himself, someone exactly like him but not driven crazy and filled with bloodlust. How? How could someone like him be standing there smiling as if noting is wrong if his life has been full of heartache and pain? The very thought of it made the monster in his head scream for his blood. Naruto could see the conflict and confusion in the redhead's eyes and lowered his shirt. He placed his hand under his chin in a thinking pose and then snapped his fingers. Hey, what's your name? The redhead shook away the monster and answered through gritted teeth. Gaara. Well, Gaara, can I see your seal? I think something could be wrong with it. Naruto asked him, surprising the two behind Gaara in the process at how casual he was talking to their teammate. Naruto looked at the seal extensively and gave a thoughtful hum. Well, that explains a lot. What does? Temari asked him, concerned in her voice at the thought of getting her brother back. This seal is completely yanked, Naruto said without looking up to them. I can fix that though, just not here. He stood up and looked straight at Gaara, who had a completely baffled look on his face. Come to my estate sometime before the exams, and I'll fix the seal for you, Gaara. Even make it so you can sleep too. All three of them went wide-eyed as Gaara nodded to him. After Naruto told them where his estate was, the three Sunanin left the little boy and Naruto standing there. Naruto turned to the boy and left before he could ask who the blonde was. Naruto regrouped with Haku and the two left the market to head home, unaware of the prying eyes watching them from afar. Chunin Exams, a few days later. Seeing as though our favorite blonde cannot participate in the exams due to not being an official ninja to the village yet, he's not allowed into the building. During those few days before the exams, Naruto had trained Sasuke as best as he could, which was a little too easy at some points, taught him how to master his demon summon to bring Yuki and Yori to help in battle. He trained Hinata when she asked if there was any way to make her stronger, and he even completely fixed Gaara's seal. Now the boy wasn't so bloodthirsty now, could sleep now and still mastered his sand. This came as a supreme setback for both Danzo and Orochimaru since they needed the unstable Gaara in causing destruction throughout Konoha. Naruto, along with Emi and Yori, had met up with Sasuke and his team before they went to the academy. Sasuke was wearing a different outfit now to accommodate his new self. Even Yuki, who was sitting on his right shoulder, was wearing a new, dark blue collar with the Uchiha swirl on it. Sasuke wore black umbu-style pants with a kunai pouch on his left leg, a long-sleeved white shirt that hugged his body without being too constricting, a long dark blue trench coat that went below his knees, standard ninja sandals, and he had his own custom sword attached to his back. The sword was specifically made by a friend of Naruto's outside of the village. It's made of a superconductive and highly versatile metal that can safely conduct electricity through it using the wielder's chakra. It's highly vibration-based, being able to deflect practically any weapon while also being so light for speed, a trait Sasuke had in spades. The handle was a raven-colored blue with the Uchiha crest for the pommel and white guard. It was sheathed in a black scabbard and simply waiting for the Uchiha to use. Naruto basically smiled at the three and wished them luck. Of course, he got 3 different reactions from them all. "I don't need luck, loser. I got skill that can run circles around you," Kiba boasted to the blonde, much to Naruto's annoyance. "All I know is that Sasuke-kun will protect me, no matter what. So beat it, you baka," Sakura yelled at him, causing Naruto to roll his eyes at her for simply wishing her luck. "I won't let you down, Naruto-sensei." Sasuke nodded to the blonde, much to the shock and surprise of the 2 genin next to him and a few stunned Jounin-sensei watching the whole thing next to an equally stunned Hokage watching through a crystal ball. Hokage Tower? Those Jounin were the senseis of the current rookies of Konoha, and they were stunned beyond belief. This new information would explain the new look and attitude of the Uchiha though. It's the blonde somehow influencing him in their eyes. Hiruzen had a horrible feeling about this. Naruto was playing with fire training the Uchiha. If the council found out about this, then there would be hell to pay for Naruto. Kakashi saw this and knew that Naruto training Sasuke was a horrible idea. He was the boy's Jounin sensei. He should be the one training Sasuke. He should be the one showing Sasuke how to properly use the Sharingan to honor Obito. Who was this blonde to come in and take this away from him and dishonor the memory of Kakashi's old teammate? Asuma saw this as an opportunity. He was no fool. He could see the power and change in the Uchiha ever since the blonde showed up. If Sasuke was calling Naruto sensei, then that could mean that he trained the Uchiha. Judging from how strong Sasuke looks now, along with that sword on his back, Asuma could only assume that if he were to convince Naruto to train his own genin, he could impress Kurenai. Speaking of the genjutsu mistress, she was very surprised and at the same time curious as to what exactly has this blonde kid been up to since his arrival not too long ago. He has shook up the council to the core, he's dating Hinata along with some other girl, he lives in the old Namikaze estate, he granted Zabuza Momochi asylum within said estate, and now he's the sensei to the once brooding emo. Just what was this kid, and what's with the animals around him? Hinata was rather uncharacteristically tight-lipped about what they do at his estate, and that worried the Jounin seeing as though Hinata had changed a bit over the past few weeks. Guy was spouting out something about youthful senseis and whatnot, but even he was baffled by what he just saw and heard. Just what exactly could the Uchiha do now, was anybody's guess. Guess he and the rest of the Jounin will just have to wait and see. Back with the group. After Sasuke had said those words, it got the exact reaction out of both his teammates. Anger from Sakura and arrogance from Kiba, assuming that if he needed the blonde loser's help training then the great Uchiha clan really is a dead clan. Sasuke paid them both no attention for that and nodded to his sensei. "Awesome," Naruto said with a smile. "I know you won't, Sasuke. Make me proud in there." Sasuke nodded with a smirk and went inside, followed by his still fuming and laughing teammates. It didn't take them long to get to the room to take the test only to be stopped by 2 Chunins blocking the way. Thanks to Sasuke's still covered new Sharingan, he was easily able to see past the genjutsu and lead his team to the real test area. They were nearly there, when suddenly some dude with an eyesore green suit, weird-ass haircut, and eyebrows that make him look like a joke character, appeared next to them. "You." He pointed towards Sasuke with an accusing finger. "Are you Sasuke Uchiha?" Sasuke kept his composure and remembered what his sensei said about overzealous ninja wanting to prove their strength by facing strong opponents. "I am. And you are." "My name is Rock Lee." He took a fighting stance directed towards Sasuke. "And I challenge you, Sasuke Uchiha, to a spar." "Of course," Sakura interjected. "Hey! You can't just go up and challenge Sasuke-kun like that." "Yeah." Kiba started as he ran over towards Lee. "So why not face a real opponent who's stronger than that clanless loser?" Lee immediately swept Kiba's leg, sending him face first into a wall using his own forward momentum. Kiba clutched at his nose as he started to bleed from it, and Akamaru started barking at the now laughing Yuki. "Stop laughing!" Akamaru yelled at the white-haired wolf pup on Sasuke's shoulder still. "It isn't funny." "It's pretty hilarious to me." Yuki let out a yip that sounded adorable to some, but only Sasuke could understand it all. "Okay then." Lee continued on, getting back into stance at Sasuke. "Now then, let us have a youthful spar." "Listen, Lee." Sasuke started in a calm tone as he felt 2 more chakra signatures approaching them, most likely Lee's teammates. How about we save this spar for during and after the exams, not before? I'll gladly spar against you in the future to test out my speed against yours. Lee went a little wide-eyed at hearing this, but nodded his head and relaxed as his two teammates approached. After some yelling from the girl on Lee's team and a strange death glare from the Hyuga to Sasuke, they all went to the right room. When they opened the door and stepped in, the occupants of said room immediately flooded them with killer intent to scare them. It would have worked if Sasuke wasn't there. Too bad he was and wound up scaring them when he used his own Ki against theirs, which easily surpassed anyone in the room. Kabuto felt it, and looked to his master's target only to see someone his reports didn't match up to. This Sasuke looked and acted different than what he was led on to believe. Orochimaru wouldn't be happy that the blonde Jinchuriki somehow influenced the Uchiha. This would require further study. Gaara noticed the Uchiha's Ki and turned to him with a smirk and a nod. Sasuke saw this and did the same thing. In those few days since Naruto met Gaara, both Sasuke and the Suna Jinchuriki had gotten along and even sparred against each other a few times. Those times usually ending in a draw since Naruto told them never to go all out on each other. After some time, Ibiki came in and did his whole song and dance routine of scaring the young genin and explaining the written part of the test. He stated anyone caught cheating 3 times, they and their entire team will be disqualified. Sasuke figured out just what they had to do and watched as team after team was taken out one by one. He used his hidden Sharingan eyes to easily see the answers from others and completed the test in under an hour. All the Jounin present and the ones watching from the Hokage Tower were absolutely confused when they saw that Sasuke hadn't used his Sharingan. Something wasn't right here. It didn't matter afterwards since Ibiki explained the last question and half the teams left. He later on said that everyone passed and in came a purple-haired woman though the window with a banner saying the super sexy and single ankle Mitarashi came in and stuck a sexy pose. Her way too revealing outfit didn't really do much for most of the males in the class aside from Gaara, Sasuke and Shikamaru. She explained that she was their new proctor and told them to meet her at training ground 44 in 15 minutes. They arrived, she explained, tried to scare them more to thin out the herd and had them sign waivers. They all went to separate gates and were given a single scroll and were waiting for the signal to start. Once the signal was heard, all the teams rushed straight in. Team 7 stuck to the trees and Kiba was boasting about he and Akamaru's superior sense of smell leading them to victory. Sasuke had already found another team using his hidden Sharingan and used his speed to get the drop on the 3 grass nin. It took him all of 2 seconds to get to them, which they were at least 100 or so meters away, take their scroll after knocking them out, and getting back to his team before they could even notice. He had the Earth Scroll in his possession, while Sakura was the one carrying the Heaven Scroll. Okay, Akamaru? Kiba was about to finish his rant that hadn't ended in those 2 seconds. Let's sniff out some fresh prey. No need. Sasuke started from the rear, getting their attention as he held up an Earth Scroll while smirking. Now, let's get to that tower before. He didn't get the chance to finish his sentence, as he felt a strong and way too powerful chakra signature approaching them fast. He stopped on a tree branch and looked around for a second before seeing a sound nin coming to them. Yuki growled in anticipation as Sasuke was ready to reach for his blade to truly test himself against this new enemy. Sasuke-kun? Sakura questioned as she stopped and went to stand next to Sasuke. What's wrong? Yeah, Uchiha. Kiba started, still overconfident in his abilities. What's wrong? You scared of one stupid nin? He didn't get to finish as they heard a sinister laugh that froze the 2, 3 if you count Akamaru. Coo. It looks like finding the 3 of you wasn't hard. The grass nin looked straight at the 3 genin and saw his prize. The Uchiha was all that mattered to him, the others were just extra baggage to be dealt away with. Let's see just how strong you are, Sasuke. Sasuke took his stance as he prepared for an attack only to realize that this grass nin was trying to use a genjutsu on him. He looked to Kiba and Sakura and saw them frozen in fear and decided the best course of action right now. Yuki. He started to his wolf pup companion. Keep them safe while I deal with him. You got it, Sasuke-kun, Yuki said as he leapt down and stood in front of the 2 stunned genin. Sasuke wasted no time. He threw a few shurikens and kuniyas at the grass nin who easily deflected and caught them only to realize one had an explosive tag on it. He went wide-eyed as he didn't notice it somehow and tossed tea before it exploded in a puff of smoke. The grass nin was impressed by the tactical move and saw Sasuke coming through the smoke. He looked to his left where Sasuke was going to attack only for a lightning bolt to fly right at him. He went wide-eyed again and dodged the attack, but when the lightning hit the branch, the grass nin heard the familiar voice next to him. Right on Kenjutsu, electric mist. Before the grass nin could react, the smoke around him became electrified and he was being shocked from multiple different angles at once. He used a substitution with a log to escape as one of the bolts scorched his face. He stood on another tree branch as the smoke disappeared, revealing Sasuke with his sword drawn and exuding lightning. Pure, white and blue lighting. Orochimaru was shocked by this as Kabuto nor Danzo had informed him that the Uchiha knew both Kenjutsu and right Unjutsu. Damn you Danzo, Orochimaru said to himself in anger. I need to mark him fast and get out of here quickly. Sasuke was about to attack him again when the grass nin simply vanished in a shunshin. Sasuke knew better than to relax yet, since he could still see exactly where the grass nin was with his new and still hidden eyes. He quickly went through some hand seals and moved over to where the grass nin would appear before he could. To say Orochimaru was shocked was an understatement, both figuratively right on, palm strike. And now literally. Sasuke stuck the grass nin in his chest with a fistful of lightning, knocking the wind out of him. Before the grass nin was fully knocked back though, he extended his neck and bit Sasuke on his left shoulder. Sasuke let out a grunt which was an indication that Orochimaru had succeeded in his plan, unfortunately for that wasn't the case. The literal second the grass nin was about to bite him was also the second that Sasuke got away from him and pricked his finger. He now stood away from the nin while said nin realized he had been biting an afterimage now. What? He shouted in utter fury. That was when he could feel the gathering of electricity behind him. He turned just in time to see a large wolf completely covered in white electricity and glowing blue eyes. The wolf ran up to him at speeds that even he had trouble tracking and roared out a large blast of lightning out its mouth. Orochimaru went wide-eyed as he heard Sasuke shout out just before the wolf fired its attack. Kuchios no Jutsu, Wolf's Roar! The blast was too fast for the snake Sannin to dodge properly. He avoided the attack as best as he could, but the blast was too great for him, and he was blasted far away from the wolf and Uchiha. Sasuke and Yuki stood fast for a few more seconds before relaxing a bit at the now faint chakra signature. Yuki returned to normal and leapt back up to Sasuke's shoulder. Speaking of his shoulder, Sasuke checked and felt that there was a few puncture wounds from that nin's bite, but what really took him by surprise was the strange seal that tried and failed to form on him. The seal, or mark if you will, was extremely faded and by the looks of it, nowhere even close to being complete. Sasuke looked to Yuki and the two agreed to have Kyuubi and Naruto take a look at this when they got back. The two went back to Sakura and Kiba and saw that the two were knocked unconscious from the genjutsu the grass nin used earlier on them. Sighing and rolling his eyes, Sasuke picked them both up and proceeded to the tower with both Yuki and Akamaru on his shoulders. Akamaru had seen the whole thing and was now staring at one of his former brothers he had assumed was weak to not have a master until now. It didn't take him long to even reach the tower at his speeds and he now stood at the entrance. As instructed, he unfurled the scrolls, well more like Yuki did since his arms were occupied at the moment. To his surprise, Iruka appeared in front of them and was truly shocked at what he was seeing. Sasuke? He gasped as he saw what was in front of him. What happened? How did you get here so fast? What happened to your team? Well, Sasuke started as he walked past the Chunin into the tower. First, we ran into a grass nin who I'm pretty sure shouldn't have been here. Second of all, I got here pretty fast after defeating said ninja using my speed. And lastly, that same grass nin placed these two under a genjutsu and they passed out. Sasuke turned to his former sensei. Anything else, Iruka-sensei, or can I set these two somewhere where they can rest? Iruka nodded and watched as Sasuke bowed lightly to him, as did the little white wolf on his shoulder. Iruka watched in utter disbelief as one of his most difficult students had just arrived completely unscathed and in record time. Just what had this Naruto kid do to the once emo brooding king to warrant this extremely drastic change? He would have to report this back to the Hokage now. It had been a few hours now since Sasuke arrived with his two knocked-out teammates. He and Yuki had been talking and planning out what to do and whatever came next for them. They also discussed that mark that was trying really hard to form on his shoulder. So what do you think's with that mark? Yuki asked his master as they sat on a bed in one of the rooms provided for them. Sasuke shrugged. I honestly don't know, Yuki. He was trying to gauge my strength for some reason. Sasuke then grinned at Yuki. Whatever it was, I hope he got what he was looking for. Yuki started to chuckle as his master petted him and the two were interrupted by both Kiba and Sakura waking up and looking around in panic only to calm down at their surroundings. They looked to Sasuke and saw him petting his wolf and smirking at them. Hey, Kiba started as he looked around the room rather quickly. What happened to that grass nin? Akamaru leaped up to his master and nuzzled into him in comfort, which Kiba gracefully accepted. The small dog started to tell his master of what happened, which made Kiba a little bit frustrated at his still standing and victorious teammate. What do you mean that the Uchiha took him on by himself and won? Sasuke smirked at that and continued petting Yuki in his lap. He ignored the complaints of his teammate, but was happy to find that the two were indeed okay. That was all that mattered at the moment, yet Sasuke could tell that that won't be the last time he runs into that person from the forest. With Orochimaru. To say that the snake Sannin was mad was a hilarious understatement. He was furious beyond belief. Not only had he been nearly defeated by his future vessel, But Sasuke also displayed many things that the snake had no information on prior to their meet. He didn't even activate his Sharingan during the fight, meaning that everything that he did was him at base level according to the angered Sannin. And how the hell did he learn Kenjutsu and get the wolf from? So many questions floating around with no answer in sight for Orochimaru. Damn it. He mumbled to himself as he sat on a table, recovering from his shocked wounds that were still completely numb to him. Damn it. I'll need Kabuto back here now to heal this body now. Orochimaru seethed in rage as he now thought of only one thing on his mind. Just what the hell did that blonde-haired demon do to my next vessel? With Naruto. Naruto was currently practicing some of his wind jutsus with the help of his two dogs, Maki, the black-haired one that was female, and Haruki, the golden-haired one that was male. Naruto then sneezed, stopping the two dogs in their tracks. Are you okay, Naruto-sama? Maki asked in a timid voice. Yeah, Naruto said after regaining his composure. Someone must be talking about me. Back to the tower, final day. It came as no surprise with how many teams showed up at the tower throughout. That didn't surprise Sasuke to see Gaara and his siblings making it on the second day completely unscathed. They all looked to Sasuke and his team and shared a laugh when he told them about how he and his team got here on the first day. It was fun to talk to them and see the drastic difference in Gaara's attitude and personality. When he went to Naruto back at the Namake's estate, Gaara wasn't really a people person per se. He didn't even really speak all too much, to be honest. Both Temari and Kankuro were there as well as Sasuke and Haku. They all watched as Naruto had drawn a large seal on the floor of his training grounds and asked for Gaara to come to the center of it. At first, the redhead was very cautious of this. He barely knew the blonde or knew of his intentions, and his mother was screaming bloody murder for the blonde's blood. At the same time though, he remembered that Naruto was the same as he was. A lonely boy who changed because of the actions of the cruel villagers around him. They were the same, yet Naruto had changed for the better of himself, something Gaara secretly craved his whole life, so he entered. The sealing process took some time, what with the sand reacting on its own to stop Naruto, said Blonde, having to learn about seals overnight from Q-san and being a little jank at it at first, and all in all patience. It took a few hours, but soon enough, Naruto had fixed the seal and reinforced it to where Shikaka couldn't influence Gaara anymore. The process left Naruto exhausted for a day or so, but he eventually bounced back and let the Sabaku's siblings train at his estate. They all got to know the blonde and the raven-haired Uchiha more and became friends in the process. But back to business. Through some stroke of luck or timing, all of the Konoha genin teams arrived by the fourth or last day. They were beaten up and tired, but they arrived nonetheless. There was also a sound team that arrived at the last day, a grass team that arrived on the last day, and that was pretty much it. All in all, 7 teams made it through the forest and were now gathered in the arena waiting for a new announcement. Welcome to the preliminaries, the old Hokage said from above. As I look down to all of you hopeful genin, I say congratulations on reaching this portion of the exams. Now, we will be having sets of preliminary matches to see who will advance to the final Chunin exams. This got the much-intended reactions from most of the genin. Most questioning just what the old man meant, some complaining about exhaustion, and some complaining that this wasn't fair. Hiruzen looked down to the ones complaining and took notice to a few that were eerily silent. Gaara no Sabaku and Sasuke Uchiha. They simply looked to the old man as if telling him to continue on with this and stop stalling. This caused the old man to ponder at just what the hell was going on in the Namake's estate. One moment Sasuke goes in as his regular, brooding self, and everyone still thought Sasuke was that way beforehand, then after he exits the estates, he comes out completely changed. Same with the Tanuki container. He came to this village, from what Hiruzen could tell from subtle glances and his tailing Ambu, as a stoic and uncaring monster from Suna. But one run-in with Naruto and going to the estate one day just completely changed him too. Just what are you doing to them, Naruto-kun? Hiruzen thought to himself as he watched those two before continuing. Little did he know was that every other jounin was thinking the exact same thing. As Hiruzen was explaining everything to the genin hopefuls, all of the Konoha jounin were watching both Sasuke and even Gaara closely. They all were completely caught off guard when they heard Sasuke call Naruto sensei, and most were thinking of just how strong the last Uchiha was after Naruto trained him. Some like Kakashi, Guy and Kurenai didn't think that a simple kid with some kenjutsu training could really teach Sasuke. Asuma and Genma saw otherwise and realized something when watching the show of respect from Sasuke to Naruto. Sasuke showed no hesitation, no smugness, and absolutely no disrespect when addressing the blonde, meaning that Naruto must be hiding a whole lot more than what he's letting on. The jounin also paid attention to Gaara as well and saw that his personality changed from the brief moment they saw him beforehand. He was cold and had this evil aura around him, but now he seems completely friendly. So you can imagine just one thought that was going through all of their minds right now. Just what the hell is that blonde doing in that estate? And now we will start with the first match. Hiruzen finished as he drew everyone's attention back into the board. It randomized for a few seconds before it landed on the first match. Gaara no Sabaka vs. Kiba Inuzuka. Ha! Kiba bellowed out, thinking that this would be his time to show just how superior he is. Alright. Let's show this sand bastard just what we can do. Akamaru barked confidently to his master, and the two stayed in the arena while everyone else went into the stands to watch. Kiba and Gaara stayed down and looked at each other as a sickly jounin stepped onto the arena floor. He explained the rules to the two and then began the match, jumping away from the two genin in the process. Kiba, as cocky and overconfident as ever, decided to try and end this battle quickly. He rushed over to Gaara with a now transformed Akamaru, and the two started spinning violently towards the still sand ninja. As they made their approach quicker and quicker, Gaara simply smirked as a wall of sand came out of his gourd and stood fast in front of him, stopping the dynamic duo in their tracks. Gaara still smirked as his sand quickly grabbed the two and completely encased both master and dog until there was no more struggling. Gaara released them and the two fell to the floor, both unconscious.